All right, so looks like we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And now it's time to hopefully get some folks up here who want to actually have productive conversations. Um, Ideally, we'll actually discuss the topic, whether or not there's justification to believe in a God, and maybe somebody will convert me, right? Um, that's just Nate. If God invented drum sets, then that's just another reason to think that God is evil. Because as a drummer, only someone evil would make someone else become a drummer. Thanks for the support, Error. That's fucking awesome. Just right out the gate. I appreciate that. But yeah, as people are coming in, hopefully some of the folks coming in disagree with the prompt that God is fiction. If you're one of the people who disagrees, feel free to request up. I just ask that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Yeah, so hopefully we'll actually get some good conversations. I feel like we did actually get to have a decent conversation yesterday, or a couple decent ones yesterday. Um, Envious of drummers. Oof. Should get that checked out. Maybe therapy. Um, wow, Lucy. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, if I helped you in any way, that's awesome. Genuinely, my goal here is to have good faith, honest conversations and hopefully actually get to the meat of the issue, whether or not there's reason to believe in a God. Um, you can obviously tell that my position is that there isn't sufficient reason to believe in a God, but maybe somebody would convince me otherwise. So yeah, if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in a God, feel free to request up. I would be happy to have the conversation. But yeah, we'll just see if anybody actually wants to have the talk. Actually, have a substantive conversation about that. Um, yeah, I think that we did have some decent conversation. Um, there was a really good contingency conversation that I think that we had, and then what was the other one? Oh, I got to run a couple arguments myself. I don't know who Majin Buu is. But yeah, hopefully we actually get some takers who want to actually have the conversation. A positive atheist? Um, I would say, probably. I guess. Like, I mean, it depends on like how, like what your standard is for that. I guess. Um, Negate your mind. I have no idea what you mean by that. I'm sorry. I would try to answer if I had any clue what you were asking me. I apologize. Um, yeah, Jason, what if my grandma was a bicycle? Then I guess she'd be a bicycle. Like, who gives a fuck? I don't know. The what ifs are kind of annoying. But yeah, we'll see if we can have some good conversations. Um, the requirements or what all I ask for is that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God. So we'll bring up our hey, thanks, Skeptic Mode. I appreciate that. We'll bring up our first guest here. Lakota, are you at least 18?
Yeah, I'm 18.
Okay. What God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
I would say that it would just give an epistemic justification and reason and
I'm
knowledge for the transcendentals and
I'm sorry.
everything like
What did
that.
you say about epistemic justification?
That it grounds the epistemic justification
How does God ground epistemic justification?
because he gives grounding for things that are not physical.
Yeah, that just says that God grounds things. That doesn't tell
Yeah.
me how. Do you understand the difference between like that? Do you understand how your answer had nothing to do with the question?
Not really. Like
So
the way I
describe
view
the
it is,
mechanism by which God grounds the things that you're saying God grounds.
well, it's going to be a whole worldview. There's no contradictions. It's going
That's
to
not
be
has
the
nothing to do with the
justification.
coda. I'm asking you to
Yeah.
actually engage with the question that I'm asking you. So, do you understand the question that I'm asking you?
Yeah, you're asking me for justification requires three.
No,
I forgot like
no,
three. Oh, does it not?
no. What was
So what
the
does
actual question that I
justification mean?
asked you? What was the actual
Okay.
question that I asked you? Not the thing I said before you came in.
You said can you give a reason? Can you give a
Nope,
reason of why?
nope. That has
Okay,
nothing.
can you restate your question then?
Yeah. What is the mechanism by which God grounds the things you say He grounds?
Oh, what is the mechanism? Okay. Um, I really don't know. I don't know that one. I don't
Okay.
know what
So
you
if
mean
you
by mechanism.
well, I mean, there must be some mechanism. Otherwise, you couldn't say that God grounds things. There must be some way that God does it. And if you don't know the way that God does it, then how can you possibly if you don't understand what you're saying when you say God grounds things, if you don't actually know what that means or how to, support the claim, then why would you even make the claim?
Because I think you're just trying to dive into definitions when I think you understand what I'm talking about.
No, I'm not asking you for definitions. I'm asking you to support your claim. How do you support the claim that God grounds those things without simply saying God grounds these things?
Because this is the reality that people experience, such as like the transcendentals,
No,
which are
you're
like
just
morals,
saying that those
goods,
things are
intellect.
you're just saying those things
Yeah,
exist. I'm asking you, how does God ground those things? And if you just talk about that they exist again, I'm just going to take it that you are either a troll trying to make Christians look bad, in which case you're doing a great job, or that you just don't have the boots for this hike. So please describe to me
no,
what it means for God to ground things like epistemic justification and knowledge or whatever the other nonsense you said God grounds.
yeah, because these things are real. You observe them in atheism, and naturalism does not account for these things. So therefore, it's more reasonable to believe in a God than just to
So you
be
just
a
aren't going to answer
naturalist.
the question? Fair enough. I appreciate the concession, Coda, and I hope you have a good rest of your night. Hopefully soon you'll be able to admit that you're an atheist. Oh man. I don't know how it could possibly be that difficult. Like, if God grounds things, just describe it. Obelisk. All right. PSA: if you go to an indoor water park, use hearing protection. Kids scream really loud and it echoes. I guess I haven't been at an indoor water park uh, in a very long time. All right. We will move on to the next person. If you are thinking about joining the guest queue or in the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Meg. Are you at least 18?
Yeah,
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
Jesus.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Believe in Jesus or just believe in God?
Um, well, I mean, if I would much prefer if you actually talk about something that would give us reason to believe in Jesus, but most Christians typically say that they would need to start with, a generic God and then get from there to Christianity. So, I mean, it's kind of up to you how big of a bite you want to bite off, right? Or like how big of a bite you can chew. You think you can chew? I don't know.
Yeah,
The
so
analogy got away from me.
one argument for Christianity is if Christianity was false, then there would be good arguments against it. I don't think there's good arguments against it, therefore it's not false.
Oh
You
man.
think it's funny, but you're about to get baked.
I mean, that's a hilarious. Like, please tell me
You
that
want
you're
me to
an
justify the
atheist troll.
inference? You want me to justify the inference?
Please tell me you're an atheist troll, because no real Christian would give that stupid
No.
of an argument.
So The reason it's a valid argument is because
I didn't say it wasn't
expected
valid.
on the Okay, so if it's valid, then all I have to do is justify the premises.
No.
If it's valid and the premises are justified, then it's sound.
So
if it's valid, I just need to justify the premises.
All right, hold on. I said I didn't say that it wasn't valid. I'm just like so blown away that someone would give this dumb of an argument that I'm honestly reeling.
No, that
I need you to
means
give me
all I
the
need to
argument
do is-
again.
So that means all I need to do is justify the
So
premises.
if Christianity is false, then there are good arguments against it.
I said there would be.
There
There would be.
are no. Yeah, I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to be as charitable as possible and fix the argument for you. If Christianity is false, then there are good arguments against it. There are no good arguments against Christianity. And conclusion: Christianity is true. Okay, so how do you define a good argument against Christianity?
Usually one that's sound.
Good argument against Christianity. Simply like any sound syllogism?
If they present to me premises which are true and those premises motivate against the Christian commitment, that's a good argument against Christianity.
Okay, so yes, that was just a long way of saying yes.
I was being clear. You don't like clear answers, bro? You were getting mad at the other guy for not being clear. Now you're getting mad at me for being too clear? Lock in.
And so defeat your defeat the Proclus dilemma.
What happened, bro?
Defeat the Proclus dilemma.
I don't know what that is.
Well, obviously you've surveyed every argument against Christianity and against God in order to have, come to the conclusion that there are no good arguments against Christianity. So clearly that means that you know every argument against Christianity and against God. And obviously you also know how to show that they're not sound. So what's the demonstration that the Proclus dilemma isn't a sound argument?
I mean, you can make inferences about a general data set based off a sample from that data set. So I don't need to know every argument that there's been made about Christianity or against Christianity for me to look at a sample and conclude, okay, I have not found any, therefore there probably aren't any.
Okay, cool. So name the top 20 arguments against Christianity that you can defeat.
I don't really have a ranking like that, bro.
No, just name the first 20 that come to mind.
Well, usually the thing is problem of evil, but I'm trying to
Okay,
debate,
so problem
bro.
of evil, that's number one. Cool. Number two?
Okay, problems with omnipotence, problems with omniscience.
No, what's the specific argument? No, tell me the specific argument. Like I need like
God
a title.
God knows everything. Things cannot occur other than.
No, what's the name
God
of the
knows
argument?
it,
Give me
therefore.
20 named arguments that I can write down this list.
I don't know their names. What are you doing right now, bro? What is this?
I'm trying to understand the sample that you said that you took.
By
this sample.
Asking names of arguments.
Yeah, exactly. If you have actually looked into this,
and
you've actually been able to show that all of the arguments against Christianity fail, or at least some representative sample of the arguments against Christianity all fail, then you can easily name 20 arguments, and then you'll be able to go one by one telling me how they all fail. So we've got one so far, problem of evil. So what's the next one? What's number two? And then we'll go all the way to 20, and then you'll tell me, and then we'll go back to number one, and you'll tell me how each of them fails.
But you understand that's literally
so number
useless,
two,
right?
So number
but
two.
That's useless.
So what's number two?
On. That's a useless.
So what's number two?
Just listen.
So what's number two?
Because it's a.
Okay, so you're either gonna.
No,
hold on. You got two options here, Meg. You can continue listing the arguments so that we can see that your argument is sound, or you can continue to, filibuster.
That wouldn't prove it's sound.
This is how you demonstrate what you said that you did. You said that you took a representative sample of arguments against Christianity, and you were able to show that none of them are sound. So now we're obviously, since there are probably thousands of arguments against Christianity, you would have to have at least 100 in your sample. So it would be really, really easy for you to provide 20 of them. So just give the first 20 that you can think of. Well, now you only need to give 19. So just give the first 19 that you can think of, or the next 19 that you can think of, and then you can tell me how each of them fails.
Okay, so first of all, I never said I proved that they're
Okay,
all.
so here's the thing, Meg. This
I
is your
never said.
dialectical burden now.
Why you
You
keep doing
said
it?
the
No,
argument that you
I'm
gave is
answering
that
what
there are no good
you
arguments
asked
against
me.
Christianity, and you said
You
that a
asked
good
me.
argument against
Why are you
Christianity would be
scared?
one that's sound.
Why are
So
you?
that means that you've been able
Don't be
to
scared.
demonstrate that all arguments
Don't
against
be.
Christianity are not sound. So, because that person was obviously not able to actually have a conversation, I did have to kick him. Um, what you would have to do in order to give an argument like that idiot was trying to give is exactly what I said. If you think that you can demonstrate that there are no good arguments against Christianity, then you better know a very large number of arguments against Christianity and how to defeat them all. That would be like starting point, right? Like that was a ridiculous burden for him to take on himself, and then obviously he was never going to be able to meet it. Good times. All right, so if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi,
How's it going?
Sebastian. Are you at least 18?
Yeah.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
Is the gym also fiction for you, you fat
Okay,
fuck?
well, fair enough. I mean, that's about the best that the Christians have. Arguments against Christianity. All right. So yeah, if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Gene. Are you at least 18?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
All right, and what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
I will, some rational evidence, like the Bible was, written by a lot of men over thousands of years, and all the texts point to like Christ,
Yeah,
right?
sure. It makes sense that the texts all line up because they were all using each other. Like every person, well, not everyone. A lot of people who were writing books or things that ended up being books in the Bible had other books that they could reference so that they could make sure that their writings lined up, which is why you can tell when people didn't have access to other books because then they don't line up. For example, uh, Paul was writing prior to the Gospels being written, which is why what he wrote doesn't line up with the gospel message at all. Like Paul completely contradicts Jesus at basically every important turn and says all kinds of stuff that Jesus said was the case isn't the case. And the reason for that is because there is no divine inspiration. The only thing, the reasons other things line up is because they had access to the text when they were writing theirs. And when they didn't have that, they don't line up. For example, Paul disagreeing with Jesus about so much, like especially the law.
Okay. All right. Well, huh.
I mean,
Okay, I got one
why does
more.
Paul disagree with Jesus about the law so much?
I'm not sure, but
Well, do
I
you think
got
that
one more question.
is God the author of confusion?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, don't you think it's confusing to have Jesus say that the law is never going away and then Paul come back later and say Jesus said that the law is going away and then have the church set up its entire doctrine around the law going away like Paul said and ignore everything that Jesus said?
Did you say Jesus said the law will go away? Is that what
No.
you said?
Nope. I said the
Oh,
opposite. Jesus specifically says the law is not going to go away until heaven and earth pass away. And then Paul says the opposite, that the law went away when Jesus died or something along those lines, that there's a new covenant and all that. So Paul and Jesus disagree with each other. Supposedly, the Bible, as you're trying to claim, is divinely inspired, and that's why it connects so well. But why is this such an important connection, something as important as which of God's commandments should we be following or are we responsible for following? Why does Jesus give the exact opposite message of Paul, and they're both, considered, canon for the New Testament, the Bible, and the church is built around Paul's teachings that are opposite of Jesus? Don't you think that's confusing?
and I mean, yeah, I guess yeah, it's a little confusing.
Okay, so either God had no hand in the creation of the Bible, which is why it's confusing, and of course then the Bible can't possibly be evidence for God, or did have something to do with the Bible being written, and he is the author of confusion. Which do you think is the case?
I think it all connects.
That doesn't
But
answer my
I
question.
do okay. I do have one
So
more.
either God was not involved in the writing of the Bible or the creation of the Bible, or God is the author of confusion. Which do you think is the case?
I think it's neither.
Okay, so God was involved in writing something that is confusing, but he is all powerful, so he could have made it any way he wanted to, and obviously, if however it ends up must be the way he chose for it to end up. So God chose for the Bible to end up confusing, and yet you want to say that he's not the author of confusion? Can you square that circle for me?
No.
Okay, so which is the
Okay.
case? So then you have two
think
options. If you can't fix that problem, you have two options. Either God was not involved in the writing of the Bible, or God is the author of confusion. Those are your two choices, or you could
well,
just
I'm
be,
saying
or you could just lie.
they all point to Christ. Like
That's not an
like
answer to my question.
like Paul was talking about
I'm
Christ,
telling you
and
that
it
you
was
have two options right now. Pretending that I'm not putting you, holding your feet to the fire isn't going to stop me from holding your feet to the fire. So you have two options. Either God was not involved in the creation of the Bible or the writing of the Bible, or God is the author of confusion. Which of those is the case?
Neither.
Okay, so you're just dishonest.
Neither. No, I think neither. But
Okay,
I
so
do
how
have
could
one
God
question.
how could God have intentionally created a confusing book and also not be the author of confusion? So God is the author of a confusing book, but is also not the author of confusion. I need you to square that circle.
I don't think it's a confusing book, in my opinion.
You just agreed with me that it is confusing
I
because
disagree. I
oh,
disagree.
so now you're going to
Kind
go
of
back.
boxed
Okay,
me in.
fantastic. So
He
when
kind of boxed me in.
I'm so sorry for asking you to be reasonable. I'm so sorry for
Yeah.
asking you to not reject logic. So again, is it confusing that Jesus gives one message and then Paul gives the exact opposite message, and the church says that Jesus is God and everything he says is true, but also that Paul's message that contradicts Jesus is the doctrine of the church? You don't think that's confusing?
No, it's not.
Okay, then make it make sense. Explain to me why it's not confusing.
It's explain to me how it's not. Or no, explain to you how it's not confusing.
Yeah, explain to me how it makes sense.
Okay, well, I think that when Paul was writing what he was like writing Paul, right? I think that God had he was giving him like the words to write it. So I think that makes pretty much sense.
Okay, so God chose to give Paul words that contradicted what he said when he was on earth as Jesus?
Where'd you get that information from? I'd
The
just
Bible.
like to know.
The Bible?
The Bible.
Yeah, the New Testament. I got Jesus's claims from the Gospels, and I got Paul's claims from his epistles.
Okay.
Yeah. So just the Bible. Okay.
All
So
right.
now that you said that when Paul was writing, God was giving him the words to write. Presumably when Jesus was on earth and speaking, that was God speaking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why did God or no, that's not the question. Explain to me how it's not confusing for God to directly contradict himself when he was here as Jesus versus when he told Paul what to write. How is it not confusing for him to directly contradict himself in those two instances?
Well, I think you're reading it out of context.
I'm not reading it out of context. I'm telling you that Jesus says the law will never go away, and Paul says the law has gone away. That's a direct contradiction. So, if God is if Jesus is God, then that means it was God talking when Jesus said the law will never go away and you will have to follow the law. And it was also God talking in the Old Testament when he said through his prophets that when the Messiah came, that you would still have to follow the law and there would be Levitical priests doing offerings and sacrifices in the temples. So that was all God saying one thing. And then you're claiming it was also God telling Paul to write the exact opposite. And then obviously God could have made sure that the church worked out any way he wanted. And he made it so that the church worked out so that it favored what Paul said over what God himself said. So again, why did God contradict himself? Or like, how can you
Well,
possibly claim that it's not confusing that God contradicted himself in
well,
that way?
so you're okay. So you're saying Paul said the law will go away, right?
Paul said the law had gone away. Yes.
When when Jesus would come.
No, Paul said the law had gone away when Jesus died. And
Okay,
that
and then
because
Jesus
Jesus
said,
died, Paul said that because Jesus was executed, we know nobody has to follow the laws anymore. Jesus, however, said that the only time the laws would go away is after all is done and heaven and earth have passed away. Obviously, those two things can't be true at the same time. They're contradictory, but you're saying that both of those messages came from God. Why did God give a contradiction, and how can you say that contradictions are not confusing?
"Oh,
What?
well, Jesus said that the law will be fulfilled
No. Jesus said
as
he
well."
came to
Yeah, yeah, he
fulfill the
did.
law in the sense that, like,
Yeah.
when I put my seatbelt on, I'm fulfilling the law. If I put my seatbelt on when I went to work today, does that mean that I don't have to wear it on the way home because I already fulfilled the law on the way to work in the morning?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. Because fulfilling the law just means that you're carrying it out, you're doing it. That's what Jesus said. And when Jesus said that he was fulfilling the law, the whole sentence is, I have come not to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. So whatever you think fulfill means, it can't possibly mean abolish, or that sentence would be a contradiction. I've come not to abolish, but to fulfill. If you want, I can find the exact quote. Uh, Jesus saying, I have come not to abolish the law. Okay, I have not come to abolish the law.
I've heard that verse a little bit.
Yeah, it's in Matthew, and I want to get the okay, perfect. Why is this being done? Okay. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. So, do you think that fulfill means abolish?
No.
Okay,
Okay, you know what?
fantastic. So
I
obviously
want you to
Jesus is
find.
specifically saying that he did not come to get rid of the law, and then Paul says that Jesus did get rid of the law.
I want you to find the verse where Paul says Jesus came not to get rid of the law.
No, I'm saying Jesus did. Paul says Jesus did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want you to
Romans
find that verse
10:4,
then.
Paul writes, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. Paul is saying that no one who believes has to follow the law anymore. Jesus ended it. But Jesus himself specifically says that he's not ending it. Whatever fulfill means, which I think I know what it means, but even if you disagree with me about what fulfill means, it obviously doesn't mean abolish, because Jesus specifically says he's not here to abolish it. So Jesus says, I did not come to get rid of the law. Paul says Jesus came to get rid of the law. That's obviously a contradiction, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, explain to me how that's not contradictory.
Oh well. Like I said, you are reading it out of context.
Oh, what's the context? Explain the context. Go ahead. Obviously, you know the context, or you wouldn't be claiming I was
Yeah,
reading
I
it out
did
of
know.
context.
Yeah, I did know the context.
Fantastic. Explain it for all of us so that we can learn.
Okay, so you want me to explain the context to you, right? Okay.
We're all waiting.
Wait.
Explain the context that makes this not a contradiction.
Gibson Movement 86 said Paul didn't say he did. Romans 7:12, the law is holy, the commandments are holy. There you go.
What?
Look at in the comments, Gibson Movement
I don't give
86.
okay, well, if you want to go talk to the comments, then you can talk to the comments. Do you want to talk to them or to me?
Oh, that's my answer.
Okay, so you
The
want to talk
law
to the
is
comments, not
holy,
to me?
the commandments are holy. That's what Paul said.
No, that's not what
You're
Paul said.
reading
I
out of
read you what Paul said, Gene. I read you what Paul said.
Romans 7:12 said the law is holy and the commandments are holy.
It doesn't have
You
anything
were
to do
reading
with
out of
it.
context.
Romans
He
10:4.
said
For
the law is
Christ is
holy.
the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. So now either you're going to explain the context to me that makes Paul saying Christ is the end of the law and Christ saying that he's not the end of the law. Explain to me how that's not a contradiction without responding to the comments or using AI.
Oh, you used AI.
Nope. Didn't use AI once. I
Well,
did use
yeah,
Bible
you searched
Gateway.
it up.
Yeah, I used Bible Gateway. That's not AI. You think Bible Gateway is AI? By pulling up a verse from the Bible, that's AI?
Okay, I thought you were Google searching it.
No, I
That's what
used
I
Bible
found.
Gateway to pull up Matthew 5:17 and Romans 10:4. And I read to you what Bible Gateway says that those passages say.
Oh, okay.
So again, explain to me how it is that Jesus saying that the law is not going away, that he's not getting rid of the law, and Paul saying that he did get rid of the law. Explain to me how that's not a contradiction.
Explain to you how it's not a contradiction.
Anything?
Okay. All right. I have one more question to ask you. All right. I can't explain.
Okay, so you're conceding?
I haven't looked into it. I haven't looked into it.
Okay, so you're
Okay, but I do
conceding?
have one more question. Yeah, I'll concede on that.
Okay.
But I have one more question. So, like, so there were like four people that died because of they believed in Jesus being resurrected, right?
I don't know anything about that. I don't think that's true at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know of any case of anyone dying because of Jesus' resurrection. There are Christians who were
No,
put
I'm
to
talking.
death for breaking the law.
Yeah, that no, I'm talking about they believed in the resurrection so much and they didn't deny it, so then they got put to crucifixion.
Mm-hmm. And who was that?
It was his apostles.
Yeah, names. Which apostles, and what are the extra biblical sources that show that this happened?
Like the executions.
Yeah, so what are the names
Okay,
of the
all right,
four
one
apostles?
second, 1 second.
No, now you're just going to AI to try to look it up. If you
Not
don't,
yet. I just want to know. Yeah.
yeah, if you don't know, then obviously you shouldn't be making this argument.
Oh, I've heard it before.
Yeah, you've heard other people say some shit that's not true, and since you because what they were saying supported your position, you didn't care that it wasn't true. You didn't care to look into it. You didn't care to research whether or not they were lying. You just believed the lie because it's convenient for your position. You want it to be true, so you just believe that it's true without even looking into it.
Well, it has evidence too.
It's not, there is no
Okay.
evidence, Gene. Unlike you, between the two of us, only one of us has ever looked into this claim before. You know which one of us that is? It's me. I've looked into this claim before, and it's bullshit. There's like one apostle that we know of dying as like a part of an execution, and it had nothing to do with the resurrection. He was just breaking the law. He broke a law that the punishment for the breaking it was death, and so he was put to death. It had nothing to do with his
Okay.
beliefs. It had
Okay,
nothing to do
alright.
with being Christian. It had nothing to do with the resurrection. So if you're saying that that's not the case, and you have an argument for this, then obviously you would be able to immediately rattle off the four names and tell me the sources that you looked up to confirm that this claim was true. If you don't know the names off the top of your head,
I have
and
the
you
names.
don't know the
Yep, I have the
sources
names.
off the top of your head, Yeah, because I react long enough for you to look it up on ChatGPT. If you don't know the names off the top of your head and you don't know the sources off the top of your head, what that tells me is that you haven't actually looked this up. You're just repeating some bullshit that you heard from some other liar apologist that you only believe because it's convenient for your position. Look, it's been
Well,
fun.
it still has evidence either way, right?
There
So
is
I'd
no
like to
evidence.
give you
No,
the
there isn't
names.
evidence. Okay, what are the 4 names?
Okay, no, okay. There's more than 4. There's Peter, James, Andrew, Thomas, Matthew,
Peter,
Bartholomew, Simon,
James, Peter, James,
Jude,
Peter. I
Paul,
can't write that fast. Peter, James,
Andrew,
Andrew,
Thomas,
Thomas,
Matthew,
Matthew,
Bartholomew,
Bartholomew,
Simon, the Zealot.
Simon the Zealot. Maybe you should
Yep.
learn how to,
Okay.
read before
Alright.
trying to expose yourself like that.
Jude,
Jude,
Matthias.
Matthias.
Yep, Matthias. Paul.
Uh, so these are supposed to be eyewitnesses to the resurrection who died for it?
Yeah.
When did Paul witness the resurrection? Where was he when the resurrection happened?
No, I'm saying those are the apostles that were
Yeah, you said these are the people
executed
who
for their
witnessed the
faith.
resurrection and died for it because they believed it. And you're saying Paul is one of the people who witnessed the resurrection and died for
Paul
his
was one
belief
of
in it.
them.
Yeah. So
Okay,
you're saying
Paul
that
was one of them.
So you're saying that Paul is one of the people who witnessed the resurrection and died for his
No,
belief
I'm
in
not
it, right?
saying that. I'm not saying that.
Did
I'm
Paul
saying
witness the
Paul is-
resurrection?
No, he was.
Okay,
he
then
was
Paul
beheaded
shouldn't be on this
for-
list. Paul shouldn't
Okay,
be on
all right,
this
get rid
list.
of Paul then. All right, get rid of Paul then.
Okay, so Thomas, what is the source that tells us that Thomas was executed specifically for not recanting his belief about the resurrection? Give me the extra biblical source the source from outside the Bible that demonstrates that Thomas was executed because he refused to recant his belief of the resurrection. Well, it needs to show 2 things. It needs to show that he witnessed the resurrection, and it needs to show that that was why he was executed, because he wouldn't recant it. So, what's the source that shows those two things?
Do you want the website I'm on?
No, I want the like, either like the name of a biblical scholar who's written a peer-reviewed paper about this, or the name of the original document that dates back to the prior to any of the earliest Christian writings, so that we know that it's contemporary, which obviously is impossible. So, I mean, either you're going to have to give me an original document from Jesus's lifetime, or I should say within a decade of Jesus's lifetime, saying that this happened, so it's contemporary, or you need to give me the name of a peer-reviewed paper by a respected biblical scholar.
There's early church texts that verify.
Yep, that has nothing to do with what I asked you. Did you understand the criteria that I'm asking for the demonstration of this
You
claim?
want outside resources.
Yeah, something from outside the church and outside the Bible.
So is like the church and Bible text not good enough then?
Correct. Those are biased, right? Like if I'm telling you that I know that Jesus never existed, and then the source that I give you that says Jesus never existed is, like a group of people who hate Christianity, are you going to believe the what they wrote? Of course not. You're going to want it from an unbiased, scholarly source that you can trust and rely on. Obviously, the Christian church has incentive to make it seem like the things they believe are true. They're not going, we just know that the church has always protected themselves, and they're only going to put out things that look good for them. So what we need is an unbiased source. So no, nothing from the church, nothing from inside the Bible. I want a scholarly source, like a peer-reviewed paper, or, like I said, if you could find a document from within a decade of Jesus's life that talks about these executions, that would be okay as well. I know it doesn't exist, but I'm just giving you the option in case I'm wrong.
So it doesn't exist, yet you're asking me the question.
Well, I'm just putting the option out there in case you think that it exists, because some Christians are that dumb.
Okay, well there isn't then.
Okay, so there's
But
no
I
evidence.
think
So there's no evidence
I
that
think
Thomas.
church texts
So
are
there's no
enough.
evidence that Thomas actually died in the way that you said he did.
Well, the church text, yeah, there's evidence.
Okay, so there's no reliable, unbiased evidence that Thomas died
Well,
in the way you said he
I
did.
mean, I think it's reliable enough.
So what's the unbiased evidence that Thomas died in the way you said he did?
The
From a neutral
church,
source.
the church text.
From a neutral source.
Yeah, I think the church text in the Bible is pretty
Okay,
good
but you know
enough for
what?
me.
But you know what? If we look at the Quran and we look at the the church history of the Islamic religion and see what they've written and all the hadiths and everything, well, it turns out that they all believe that Muhammad was the last true prophet of God and that Jesus wasn't the Messiah. So if we're saying that internal agreement, internal agreement or internal consistency inside of a religion is enough to demonstrate that the claims of that religion are true, then you must believe in Islam, right?
No, I don't believe in Islam.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is that, in fact, just internal consistency within a religion isn't enough to demonstrate the truth of that religion's claims?
No.
Hmm?
No.
Oh, okay. So then
No.
obviously
I just don't think. I don't think that.
So
Islam
obviously you
is,
now know that your
I don't
argument
believe.
for Thomas fails, right? Because otherwise, if your argument for Thomas worked, then the argument for Islam that I just gave would also work. So you can't have it both ways.
Well, I just don't believe in Islam.
I know you don't,
The
because you
things
know
about it.
you don't believe in Islam because you know that internal consistency inside the teachings of church leaders has nothing to do with whether the claims of the church are true. What I'm asking is, are the claims of Christianity true, and what's the evidence supporting the claim that those claims are true? And you're saying that all you have is internal consistency inside the church. But again, if internal consistency inside the church is enough to demonstrate the claims of the church are true, then the internal consistency in Islam would demonstrate that Islam is true. If you're saying that that's not enough to demonstrate that the claims of Islam are true, then it's also not enough to demonstrate that the claims of Christianity are true. So again, are the claims of Islam true because of the internal consistency in the Islamic Church, or is this argument you're giving for Thomas bad because of it relies on something that you now reject?
You're like pretty good at like boxing me in, huh?
I'm good at actually showing you the entailment of your view, and what you don't
Like you're
like.
asking me questions,
Well, the problem
knowing
that you're having, Gene.
knowing the answer,
The problem that you're having, Gene,
and
is that
trying to admit me that I'm wrong.
the problem that you're having, Gene, is that you are wrong and you don't want to admit it. That's the issue. The reason that it feels like I'm so good at pointing out issues in your view is because there's so many fucking issues in your view, my guy. If there weren't all these problems, it wouldn't be so easy for me to point out problems. I hope you notice that every single argument that you've tried to give, you have completely fallen on your face and had to then go back and say that you don't agree with the principles that you tried to use to support your arguments. Every single time you try to support one of your positions, I'm able to show you that whatever you're using to support it, you don't actually think supports it. So this tells me that you haven't actually thought about this stuff.
You know what this tells me?
What's that?
That I'm probably okay. I've learned from this, like live. I've learned. I am definitely not well equipped to talk to you, someone who's been researching it for a while and knows a lot about it.
Here's the problem, Gene.
Comparing to someone that hasn't.
Here's the problem. I don't know shit. I know next to nothing. I don't have an education. I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell the other 100 people here. I didn't even graduate high school. I don't know shit. I know literally nothing. And if it's this easy for an idiot like me who has no education and no knowledge to show how bad these arguments are, then they must be really fucking bad. Did you graduate high school?
I mean, well, yeah, I did.
Yeah. So of the two of us, you're the educated one. You're the smart one. So it's not a matter of education. Yeah. It's not a matter of research. It's not a matter of intelligence. It's a matter of quality of the arguments.
And you go on a couple of rants that have a lot of information in them. So that's just what I'm saying.
Well, all I'm telling you is that I don't have some special education. You could go talk to guys like Deconstruction Zone, Justin, right? And he would be able to rattle off all kinds of biblical knowledge. He actually knows shit, unlike me. You could go talk to, allegedly Ian. They know tons about philosophy. You could get a really in-depth philosophical argument with them. They'll even walk you through it so that you don't miss any of what they're saying. Dr. Blitz, you can go talk to about physics, or Aaron Adair, other physicists. You can go talk to these people who have actually had education. And then you could say something like, man, I guess I'm just not really prepared for, the people who are really educated on this stuff. The problem is that's not what's happening here. The problem is you came up and you talked to some idiot who doesn't know anything, and your arguments still completely fell apart because they're bad arguments. Not because I'm smarter than you, not because I know more than you, just because I haven't committed myself to shitty arguments like you have. That's the difference between you and I. That's the only difference. Well, okay, the other difference is that I actually care whether my beliefs are true, which is why I have better positions, because I did grow up Christian, but the fact that I care whether my beliefs are true meant that I couldn't stay Christian.
You grew up Christian.
Correct. And I deconverted at
So
15.
what made you fall out of that then?
Because I decided that I wanted to know whether or not the things I believed were true. And as soon as I gave myself permission to seek truth without assuming what the answer was first, I immediately realized that Jesus wasn't real. It took me probably, to be generous, maybe 10 minutes. I probably more like 5 minutes to stop being a Christian as soon as I gave myself permission to actually think about whether or not it was true. Try it. Here's what I said to myself. Here's what happened. I told myself, I believe in Jesus firmly. I know Jesus is God. I know that Jesus, like he says, is the truth, the life, and the way, or the life, the truth, and the way, whatever the fuck that saying is. I knew it better then. I told myself, I know that that's true. I believe it fully, but I want my faith to be even stronger than it is now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to seek truth without assuming that the conclusion will be Jesus. And then when the conclusion is Jesus, I'll have the strongest faith possible. Then I can go on to a life in the clergy, and I can feel good about bringing other people to God and to Jesus. And the moment that I gave myself that permission to start looking for truth without assuming the conclusion, I had to stop believing in Christianity. And I challenge you to do the same thing. It's going to be really scary and uncomfortable when you actually think about it, but see if you can push through. See if you can actually give yourself permission to think about what's true without assuming that the conclusion is going to be Jesus. I'm not saying do it right now, but genuinely sometime when you're thinking about this, when you're laying awake in bed tonight wondering how that fat, ugly idiot on TikTok did such a good job, think about this. Prove me wrong by actually giving yourself permission to think about whether your beliefs are true, and then still coming to the conclusion that it's Jesus. If you can do that, then you can come back here and convert me, and I'll believe in Jesus
I've
too.
thought about it. I've thought about it a lot.
It doesn't sound
And
like
that's why I have strong faith in it.
I disagree.
Like,
if you had thought about it a lot, and you
disagree.
actually, there's two problems. If you had actually thought about it a lot and had reasons, two things would be different. Number one, you would be giving much better reasons. And I forgot what the other thing I was going to say is. I'm a fucking moron. But yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, Gene. I do appreciate the conversation. I think that you are, being more honest than most Christians who come up here, so I appreciate that. But I seriously challenge you. Actually think about what would it look like to determine the truth of my beliefs without assuming where that's going to lead me first. And I hope that you actually do that. And I hope that you also come back in a week or two or a month or 6 or whatever and tell me what happened when you did that.
Do you think there's anything wrong then with believing in a Christian God?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You
Yes.
think there's something wrong with it?
Yes,
What's wrong with it then?
I'm a moral evidentialist. I think that it is immoral to hold unjustified, irrational beliefs. And
what if?
Believing in God is unjustified and irrational. So I think it is immoral.
Okay,
to
well,
believe in
that's
God.
what you think, though. That's what you think.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
But
These are my positions.
But Christians think that you're incorrect. So
I know they do, and I can show why
Yeah.
they're wrong, and they can't show me why I'm wrong, which is why I still do this. If I started doing this live and a Christian came up here and showed me that I was wrong, I would change the heading and I would start debating for God. The reason that I am still debating against God is that there are no good arguments for God.
Well, because because you're on TikTok.
You know that there are lots of people on TikTok who
Like,
debate for God, right?
yeah, but
Yeah. So that's what I would
I
be
mean, there's
doing.
probably not a lot of good,
That
good people on there.
that's what
Yeah,
I would be doing if I believed in God. I'm doing this
I mean,
because I'm doing this because I
like,
enjoy debating and I want to learn and grow. So I enjoy debating, so I do debates. Awesome. That's a win right there. There's nothing else complicated to that. I enjoy learning. Well, if I'm doing debates, that means that I have to put my positions to the test against anybody else who comes up here, and I have to see whether or not my positions can hold up to actual scrutiny. Can I actually defend the positions? Do I actually have the justification that I think that I do? And if somebody gives me an argument that I can't refute, well, fuck, then I got to think about it, and maybe I need to change my positions. I have changed positions because of debates that I've had. I have changed positions because of debates I've heard other people having. I change my positions when I get justification to do so. As soon as you or anyone else gives me justification to believe in a God, I will start believing in a God. I have no allegiance to atheism. I have no allegiance to anything other than the truth. So that's why I'm challenging you to think about what's actually true. It's my contention that if you actually give yourself permission to do that, you'll become an atheist too. But I feel like this conversation has gotten pretty long in the tooth. I do appreciate you. I do hope that you also take me up on that challenge and that you come back sometime and let me know how it went.
okay.
Take care of yourself.
Well, you have a good day now.
You too. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. See if Snatch wants to. Hi, Snatch. Are you at least 18? Hi, Snatch. Are you at least 18? Bueller. Nothing? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Joy, I thought that was kind of funny too. What do you think? And then I say what I think. Yeah, but that's just what you think. Okay. I mean, you got me there. You got me on that one. In the chat, begging to come up. Okay, hi Stray. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I'm 58. Hold on, hold on, let me say something. All right? The fact is,
I'm good. All right. You guys ready for the fastest crash out in history? Well, probably not because he does it everywhere. We'll tie the record. Hi, Deathless. You're Christian, right?
I believe that Christ is Lord and Savior.
Cool.
You said something which was rather interesting.
Oh, I don't want to talk about my previous conversations. What argument or evidence do you want to present?
Sure. If all evidence conceivably exists, then God is the necessary and sufficient conditions for.
I need you to go a little slower because I'm going to write it down. If all evidence
conceivable.
If all evidence that is conceivable.
If all evidence conceivable. Conceivably exists. E.g., theological, metaphysical, etc.
Theological, metaphysical, etc.
Then God is the necessary and sufficient conditions for all evidence conceivable a priori.
And sufficient condition for what?
All evidence conceivable a priori.
All evidence. I think that an easier way to say this would be all conceivable a priori evidence. Or is that
no? Just no. For all evidence conceivable a priori.
Evidence conceivable
a priori.
A priori. 1 second. I don't like the formatting I just used. Okay, premise 2.
All evidence conceivably exists.
All
a priori.
As conceivable.
Conceivably exists a priori.
Oh, that wasn't part of the antecedent before. You want that?
No. That's premise 2.
No, I know, but if this, well, okay,
Here's
then
the
now
argument.
you're just making the argument invalid now.
No. Excuse me. We're using a modus ponens structure. This is a
I know.
properly formulated principle.
I know, that's why I'm
If
trying to
all
fix it
P
so
then
that
Q,
it's
P
still
then
modus
Q.
ponens.
You're just going ahead and you're just, trust me, I understand this. I ran this through ChatGPT 100 times. I know it's sound. Okay.
ChatGPT is not a good way to check if an argument is sound. Just so you
I've ran it through Grok. I've also ran it through what was the
so
other
don't
one.
run it through
And
AIs.
I've also paid professors on Fiverr to prove it.
Okay, well,
So,
I mean,
let's
I
go-
don't think
let's
that
go
makes
for it.
any sense, but whatever.
Okay.
So then,
So let's go through.
what
Could
is-
you allow me to?
God is the
Premise
necessary and
premise
sufficient
number one is
condition for
this.
all evidence conceivable
Premise
a
number-
priori.
Excuse me. Premise number 1. I'm going to say it slowly so you can write it down correctly. If all evidence conceivably exists, then God is the necessary and sufficient conditions for all evidence conceivable a priori. Premise number 2 is all evidence conceivably exists a priori. Conclusion is God is the necessary and sufficient conditions for all evidence conceivable a priori.
So the problem that I have here is that you're adding a priori in the second premise, but that's not in the antecedent in the first premise, and that's what makes this invalid. So I was trying to help you out and say that we need to either take.
In terms. Your proposition contradicts itself and falsifies itself.
What's that?
And here's why.
What?
A priori is basically an identifier. It's operating as a universal quantifier that identifies the nature of the proposition.
No, I know what a priori means, Deathless. What I'm saying is that if you add, so hold on, Deathless. What I'm trying to explain to you, hold on. What I'm trying to explain to you is that because you said you wanted to use modus ponens, and that's fine. I can tell that that's what's happening here. The problem is what you're saying is if P then Q, R, therefore Q. And I'm saying don't do that.
No, excuse me. That's not what's being stated. I'll show you what the P is. If P, all evidence conceivably exists, then
see, that's the problem, Deathless. See here, I'll put it up on the screen.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but you're not saying no, because is premise 2 supposed to be P?
Please stop panicking.
No, I'm not panicking. Is premise 2 supposed to be P?
Would you please stop panicking and allow me to explain the contradiction in your
if you can answer my question.
No, I'm catching a contradiction and you're dodging.
No, I'm not dodging. I'm trying to help you fix to the fucking argument, my guy.
No, excuse me.
Okay, all right. So hold on, Deathless. Hold on. I've got it up on the. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. So I put it up here. Here's the problem. So if we look at this, so modus ponens, right, is if P, or well, let's say it a little bit more formally. P implies Q, and then we're going to say P, and then the conclusion is going to be Q, right? The problem is what you're doing here in the second premise, all evidence conceivably exists a priori, but you don't have that. If P is supposed to be this right here, you don't have the a priori qualification in P. So you're saying P implies Q, and then you're bringing in some other thing, which would be R, and that makes it not modus ponens anymore. That makes it invalid. So what I'm saying is that you need to either. So what you need to do. So what I'm trying to write. So what you need to do is either.
I don't need to state a priori twice.
Hold on, Deathless.
Order for the scope of the a priori.
So hold on.
Include the whole proposition.
Hold on. So
what you're stating is a fallacy called scope confusion. Now, the scope of the argument is identified at the end of the argument. The a priori only needs to be mentioned once in order to understand.
No, because your cue here is that God is the.
So we falsified your proposition.
No, you didn't. All you're doing. No, what you're saying here
does not need to be mentioned twice in order to feature both sides of the argument.
No, because what you're saying is that because a priori isn't in the antecedent here.
The proposition.
So okay, so this is just an invalid argument.
There be two registrations of an a priori to include two halves of an argument is a scope confusion by definition, which introduces two scopes when one is sufficient to do the task. So by virtue of semantic reduction, we reduce it to actually one a priori. Thank you.
Okay, so no, because when you're putting a priori at the end of this sentence, that's just modifying the consequent. You're saying God is the necessary and
Excuse-
sufficient
excuse me.
condition for all
Excuse
evidence
me.
conceivable a
It's
priori.
not modifying the excuse me. It's not modifying the consequent, because the necessary and sufficient condition is the antecedent, so that falsifies your proposition. If God is the necessary and sufficient condition from which all evidence conceivable is consequential, that's the antecedent. So we
No.
just beat you there. You just lost the argument.
No,
You just lost.
no, you're
just lost.
confused.
You just lost. You just
You're
confused
confused,
the antecedent and
Deathless.
the consequent.
This
I got
is an
you.
antecedent.
Hey, I got you.
This
Hey, I
is
got
an
you.
antecedent.
No, if all evidence conceivably exists, that's the consequent.
No, that's the
Then
antecedent,
God
my
is
guy.
the necessary and sufficient condition, meaning the antecedent
Okay,
for all
so
evidence
now you
conceivable.
want to die.
Gotcha.
This is a weird hill to die
Gotcha.
on, being wrong
Oopsie,
about
we
what
got you,
antecedent
Poopa.
means.
Hey, Poopa, we got you. Okay,
Yeah?
we got you.
Really?
We got you.
Uh-huh.
So what we're stating
So if
is
I
that
look
God
up the
is the
definition of
necessary and sufficient
antecedent-
conditions, the antecedent for all evidence conceivable, which is the consequent. We got you.
Yeah, no, so
And we got you.
so that's
now
just
that
not
we
how
got
it
you,
works, Deathless.
We just showed that
So,
all evidence
Okay, hold on. No, you didn't show anything. All you're showing is that you
got
don't
you.
understand
And
what
you've lo-
antecedent and consequent mean.
We've just showed you that all evidence.
Deathless, are you able to
anything
actually
at all
have
is
a
evidence,
conversation?
and that there's
Like, is that
only
something that you're
evidence,
capable of? Like
So,
physically?
we got you in a
No?
fallacy of scope
Okay,
confusion.
fantastic.
We-
So here's the issue. Here's the issue. So in an if then, right? So anytime you have if P then Q, P is the antecedent and Q is the consequent, right? That's simply how it works. Now, you could write something like P if Q, right? Now, in this case, even though they're flipped, even though they're flipped here, this case, Q would be the antecedent and P would be the consequent, but that's not what's happening here. We have if, blah, 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 that's an antecedent, then, blah, 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 that's a consequent. And again, this a priori is modifying the consequent, not the antecedent. And so if we're trying to say, if P then Q, P therefore Q, your P has to be the same in both. Yeah, that's what's cooked. By not knowing what antecedent meant. That was, oh man, it was so impressive. He really got me. A priori just means that you can, without investigation. Thanks, Bootman Jones. Yeah, a priori just means without any investigation. A posteriori would mean after doing investigation. So like one of the no, that's completely correct, Watson. Yeah, neither of us was able to actually demonstrate anything. Well, I was trying to mute him and explain Andre. I was trying to do that, and he would not listen. I completely agree with that. Not your daddy. He just was trying to sound smart. But yeah, he clearly didn't understand what antecedent and consequent meant, and then wanted to die on that hill. Doesn't understand antecedent and consequent. I'll be honest, though. That's the best, by far the best conversation I've ever had with him. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Jax. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir, I am.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
Not specifically religious one. I was just gonna kind of argue for an overall, like, it could be a deism, it could be any of that type
Okay.
stuff.
So
What's
do you,
the sorry?
well, I just
What's
wanted to
the
ask.
ref?
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you
Go ahead.
want? I'm sorry. Do you believe in a specific God, but you don't want to argue for it, like because you want to do it or you need to do it in stages, and you only want to deal with the first stage, or are you saying that you only believe in a deistic or theistic God?
Yeah, I only believe in a deistic God, like it's not a specific religion I'm invested in.
Okay, so then I just want to be clear: are you a deist or a theist?
It really depends how you define deist, I guess.
So well,
Because usually I think of deist as like, not having any like causal power or something. Nowadays,
so-
or something.
no. So a deist would be someone who
Mhm.
believes in a creator, but the creator like doesn't get involved and doesn't have anything to do with the operations of the universe. A theist would say that there's a creator God who is involved in at least some capacity.
Yeah, it would be more of a pantheism. Are you familiar
Okay.
with pantheism?
I'm aware of what pantheism is. So you're saying that you're not really like a generic theist or a generic deist. You're a
Yeah,
pantheist?
It would be more along those lines.
Okay. So you don't believe that God created the universe?
No, I would say that the universe is a representation of God.
Okay, cool. So I'm just looking to have debates about a God that created the universe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
not trying to be an asshole or anything, but this is just not an interesting conversation to me.
I know. I got you. All right. Well, take care, man.
Yeah. Have a good one.
You too.
I'm with you 100% on that, Saintly. I would much rather learn than win. Honestly, like learning is a much bigger win than, doing well in a debate, in my opinion. Oh, that Jax guy was a Christian? That is so funny. I can't say I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean, I am seeking truth about whether or not a theistic God exists. I'm not here to talk about pantheism. That's just not an interesting conversation. Like I said, I'll entertain generic theism arguments as like a first step. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I would entertain generic theism arguments as a first step towards something like Islam or Christianity or some other specific thing. But I don't think I'm just not interested in having conversations about pantheism. Hey, KTM. I'm just always going to think of you as KTM. Easier to say that than probably just text prediction every time, too. Yeah, okay, awesome. Currently no actual serious interlocutors requesting, so if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, feel free to request up. I'd be happy to have the conversation. Thanks for the shares. Thanks everybody for tapping and sharing and everything. I definitely appreciate it. It's nice to hopefully get some folks in here and see if we can get some actual opposition, somebody who actually wants to have the conversation legitimately and not just, yell at me. How much money to shave my beard? How much to shave my beard? $50,000. I would shave my beard for $50,000. Maybe your Blockjoy is my purpose because I see a lot from Mysterious Galaxy. Not 45? No. All right. Well, we're not getting anybody up here. So I don't know if I just got a whole bunch of shares. I don't know if I want to reset while hopefully people will be coming in. That it makes a lot of sense. Joy is my purpose. That would make a lot of sense. That Mysterious Galaxy person is just a Darth Dawkins hanger-on, sycophant, ball polisher, whatever you want to call it. No, Andre, I'm not able to do that. If someone is up here and I mute them, they can unmute themselves and there's nothing that I can do about it. I'm not able to actually, it would be nice to have that level of control so that I could actually explain the issue, get to the end of it, and then let them respond. Well, tell me I'm wrong. You're going to tell me I'm wrong? What was her sister, Doug? Wow. Thank you everybody for the support. Holy shit. Error 404, Skeptic Mode, Negate Your Mind, Mateo Potato, which is an awesome name. Wit, Lupine, Poopman Jones. Oh, Poopman Jones, thank you so much. Love Animals. Ha ha, that's fun. Thank you. Lem, J McHugh, more Lupine, thank you so much for the support. Poopman Jones, Polly Magic. Man, Lupine, thank you. KC, just going all out. Thank you so much. Davina. Oh yeah. Davina DeVillain. I think that I was rude to you on Lobes' live. So good times. Thank you for the support. Mark, Nick, Dan Blackroyd, that girl OB, Saintly. Thank you everybody so much for the support. Okay. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Snatch, are you at least 18?
I like your beard, sir.
No. Why? Why do little kids have to do that? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do one of those. Oh, well, I'm glad I wasn't rude to you, Davina. But yeah, currently don't have anybody requesting. Yeah, I know, Saintly. Well, honestly, it probably was like a voice changer, but you know, whatever. Well, that's extremely kind, Davina. Thank you. I'm just some idiot. But hopefully, I'm dumb enough for some Christians to come up and think that they can, or theists to come up and think that they can, you know, prove me wrong. I'd be happy to see it. So yeah, if you believe in a God and have some kind of argument or evidence, feel free to join up. The guest queue is fully open, and I'm happy to have the conversation. Somebody came in yesterday, a couple days ago, talking about the psychophysical harmony, and because I didn't know that argument, I went and looked into it, and what I think is hilarious is there are people now like making videos about. Well, I saw at least one person making a video about me that I didn't understand that argument, or like that my contention to it was bad or whatever. What's so funny about it is that after looking into it, I found that like that's just the response. Like that is the response to that argument, and the authors of the paper that argument is based on know that they have no counter argument to that response. Like, if you take an identity view of the mind, right, the identity theory, then we can absolutely say that evolution expects psychophysical harmony. The probability under the identity theory view, the probability of psychophysical harmony under naturalism given evolution is 1. Right? Like that's 100% likely. It's guaranteed. So saying that it's unlikely under naturalism is just insane. And the paper claims that evolution just presupposes, but that claim that evolution presupposes psychophysical harmony is made under the assumption that you already accept dualism. And if you don't accept dualism, which obviously I don't because I'm not a moron, that means that their argument just completely falls apart. So I don't know. That was something that I thought was really funny. That my just like off the cuff response that I got shat on for just is the response to that argument, and that there's no counter. And obviously that's why the idiot giving that argument wasn't able to present a counter to my response. So I couldn't help but laugh. And then when I also tried to make comments on the video about me, they deleted it. So it tells you the level of sincerity and good faith that the theists are acting on. But yeah, I mean, we're struggling here. Nobody coming in. I don't remember the name of the person who posted it. Somebody tagged me in a thing. They were screen capping when I was debating what was the idiot's name? Rancho? Somebody was screen recording while I was debating Rancho, and then they posted a video of it. Yeah, it was really dumb. Yeah, the psychophysical harmony. Yep. Yeah, that argument only works if you presuppose dualism. Yeah. Yeah, and everybody acted like Rancho cooked me when in fact he just didn't even know the commitments of his own argument. Except that it's worse than fine tuning. I was actually watching Graham Oppie talk about it today. I was watching a video of Graham Oppie talking about that argument, and with Miles Donahue, and Miles asked him like how he thought it matched up against stuff like fine tuning, and yeah, even Graham Oppie said that like it is a much worse argument than fine tuning. Fine tuning is much harder to deal with. This psychophysical harmony nonsense is it's just bullshit. Like I said, first off, you have to assume dualism. And I mean right there, like if your argument requires you to assume something as dumb as dualism, then I don't know. I think that's probably a pretty dead argument. It's one of those things like presup, right? It's like tag. It sounds really good if you already accept the conclusion, but if you don't, then it just sounds terrible. Well, that would be horrible. And no, Ogar is not my real name. My name is Eric, if that matters. Doxing myself, I guess. But I go by Ogar. I've gone by Ogar for like 20 years. All my friends call me Ogar. The only people who don't call me Ogar are like my immediate family and my at work. My issue with dualism is that it's just obviously false. Right? Like yeah, I'll tell you the name of my employer and the address of the location I work at. I work in the financial industry. I'll say that much. But yeah, don't have anybody requesting at the moment. If there is, yeah. Well, I mean, the issue of dualism is that there's genuinely no argument for it, right? There is no argument for dualism. It's just an assumption. It's saying, well, we don't know. It's basically an argument from like ignorance or incredulity. It's saying like, well, we don't know. We can't solve the hard problem of consciousness. We don't know exactly which neural states line up with exactly which mental states. Therefore, there's a difference between the two. But just saying that we're ignorant in the exact connection and the exact nature of like how consciousness works, and we don't know literally everything about it, doesn't mean that we should assume that like substance dualism or that gods exist or any of those kinds of things. And that's what stuff like dualism is obviously just like an assumption based on ignorance, and then stuff like the psychophysical harmony argument is just compounding ignorance on top of ignorance. It's just saying, because I've already accepted this thing that was an argument from ignorance, if I also ignore the evidence against that and this view, then I can say that this is reason to believe in God. Yeah, I think that like Skycake, no. Well, obviously, if some demonstration is provided at some point in the future, whether that's today or tomorrow or in 100 years from now, or presumably sometime within my lifetime, I will change my position. But it's obvious that there is no justification now to hold the position that God exists, and there's obviously no justification now to hold the position that dualism is true. If justification comes in the future, fine, right? As soon as the justification changes, my position will change. That's simple enough, I think. Hey, Bradley Cooper, thank you for the support. I don't know if I just need to do a reset. It's feeling like I need to do a reset. I mean, I've been live for over an hour now, and we have just absolutely nobody requesting. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit the reset. Give me just a couple of minutes, and I will be, or well, actually less than that. Give me like 30 seconds, and I will be right back. Oh yeah, YouTube's still going. I forget that literally every time. All right, we're back on the TikTok. Trying to see if we can actually have some good conversations here. All right. Hopefully we get some opposition in. Looking for folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. If you fit the bill, if you are 18 plus and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in your God, please feel free to request up. I'd be happy to have the conversation. Maybe you will be the one who shows me how wrong I am, right? That sounds fun, doesn't it? Converting an atheist live on TikTok. I'm ready. I am ready. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't take more than a little bit here to get some folks in and get some opposition who actually wants to have the conversation. Yeah, good to see everybody coming back in. Hopefully we can so yeah, if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, feel free to come up. If not, I appreciate any, likes and shares to kind of get us in the algorithm, get some folks in here and see if we can have the conversation. All right. So give me 1 second, a little bit of maintenance here, and then we can bring up our first guest of the restream. 1 quick second. Interesting. Hassel, are you at least 18?
Yeah, my friend, I'm over 50.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
The only true God that exists in this planet, in this whole universe, even before the universe.
Which one's that?
Your God and my God, our creator.
Yeah, which one is that?
There's only one.
Oh, okay, so you believe in Zeus?
That's not one. That's a fake God.
I'm so sorry. How silly of me. Of course,
Yeah,
we all know who the one true God is. We all obviously know who the one true God is. And that,
Amen.
of course, is Eunice, the universe farting unicorn right here to my side. She once ate a spicy hypotenuse and farted out our universe. That's the one true God, right?
Well, the only true God has to be Trinitarian in nature and at the atomic level at an atom.
Well, you said you believe in the one true God, and that's Eunice. So you must believe in Eunice, right?
The one true God is 100% science and 100%.
Well, hold on. So if you're saying that you believe in a God, but you don't believe in Eunice, then just tell me which God you believe in.
The God that created your Eunice.
Oh, no, Eunice wasn't created by a God.
Yeah, my friend.
No, Eunice wasn't created by a God.
Yeah.
So if you don't believe in Eunice, can you tell me which God you do believe in?
I'm a nuclear physicist, so you're talking to a real scientist here.
So you can't tell me which God you do believe in?
Yeah, I told you the one.
No, you didn't. You didn't. Yeah, just say his name.
Let me show you.
Just say his name.
Yahweh.
Oh, so you're Jewish?
No.
Okay.
But he called himself Elohim, also, which means
so what?
plural,
so I'm going to ask you one more time.
Or I am.
I'll ask you one more time. What God do you believe in?
And he's watching you He's watching you think you're such a fool. Psalms 15:1.
Well, here's the thing, folks. If you don't have enough, if you can't commit to a position, we can't have a debate, right? If you can't tell me what God you believe in, I don't know what to tell you. There's no way for us to have a conversation about it. Hi, Mission. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
The Christian God, Yahweh.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
To believe in any God? Yeah. Or specifically the Christian God, Yahweh?
Whichever you prefer.
Well, I think to believe in the Christian God, like the best evidence is the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Oh, how would the resurrection give us reason to believe in God? Or, well, first, why should we think the resurrection happened?
I mean, we have early accounts attesting to the resurrection.
Like what?
People who were close to Jesus.
Yeah, like what?
We have people who were writing.
No, which ones?
Mission.
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, you said that we have early writings. Which early writings do we have about the resurrection? Wait, well, first,
Like
actually, what do you mean by early writings?
like the New Testament.
Oh, well, those aren't early writings. Those are decades and decades later. In order for us to consider any writing to be evidence of the resurrection, it would have to have been written, around the time of the resurrection by people who, provide firsthand testimony that they saw the resurrection. Do we have any firsthand testimony
No,
of the resurrection?
no,
Yeah,
that
I
doesn't make
agree.
sense.
Yeah, we don't have any firsthand testimony. So
I said that doesn't make sense. I said.
all we have is
Wait, did you hear
people.
what I said?
All we have is people saying that other
Can
people
you
believe in
respond
it.
to what I said?
You haven't responded to what I said yet.
I said that what you're saying does not make sense to me. Your reasoning is faulty.
I don't care
That's what I
that you
said.
don't like the fact that I'm
So you're not
destroying
gonna
the
respond
stupid
to what I
argument that you're
said.
giving. What I'm
Are
asking you
you
to
gonna
do is to
respond to
give
what
a
I'm
reason to
saying?
believe that the resurrection happened.
Okay. What I'm saying is your criteria of we have to have people writing around the time of the resurrection, that is faulty reasoning. Those same people who were there at the time of the resurrection could 20 years later write down what they saw and
Yeah, but they
heard
didn't,
and all of those things.
right? They didn't.
Okay, show me that they didn't, because I have the book saying they did.
Oh, which book?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Acts, Romans, all the way through the whole New Testament. That's what I have. So what are you
You
talking
can't say
about?
something that funny while I'm taking a drink of water, man. You almost made me choke.
I would not want you to choke, my friend.
I know you almost killed me with that hilarious joke. That was a good one. I'll grant you that. Okay, but now that you got the joke out of the way, being serious, who actually wrote about the resurrection, or where do we have firsthand testimony about the resurrection?
The New Testament.
Who wrote Matthew, Mission?
The disciple Matthew.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. How can we confirm that the disciple Matthew wrote Matthew?
Well, that's what the church tradition says.
No, how can we confirm it?
All the evidence that we have.
Yeah, what's the evidence that Matthew wrote Matthew?
2,000 years,
What's the evidence that Matthew wrote
1900
Matthew?
years, you could say.
Mission,
All
what's the evidence?
evidence.
What's the evidence that Matthew wrote Matthew?
I believe Papias talks about it.
What's the evidence that Matthew wrote Matthew specifically?
I said I believe.
I don't care that
Papias-
you said you think Papias talked about it. I think a bunch of stuff. That's not evidence.
No.
What's the
Do
actual
you know
evidence
what
that
I'm-
Matthew
do you
wrote
know
Matthew?
what I'm referring to? You want me to pull it up?
I want you to
reference?
give me the actual evidence that Matthew wrote Matthew.
Okay, give me a second. I'll go pull up the evidence.
No, you're good. It's a waste of time. All right. So if you are 18 plus and have some kind of, why did I kick you? Because you're being ridiculous, Mission. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to go look for evidence that doesn't exist. If you were an honest person, you would acknowledge that we don't have any evidence that the Gospels were written by the people, the people whose names are associated with the books. Obviously, everyone knows that the Gospels are anonymous. Anyone who has any degree of intellectual honesty whatsoever. All right. Yeah, I'm so scared of evidence that doesn't exist. Hi, Travis. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Okay, you're Jewish?
No, I'm Christian.
Oh, okay. Do you know why so many of you Christians are so embarrassed about being Christian that you can't just say that you're Christian?
I'm not embarrassed.
So when I asked you what God you believe in, why didn't you just give a non-ambiguous answer? Why'd you have to give a confusing, ambiguous answer? That sounds like somebody who's embarrassed and doesn't want to admit what they believe in.
I'm just giving the Bible answer, and that's what the Bible answer is.
Right, but you know that multiple religions, 3 major religions, in fact, probably the 3 biggest religions in the world, or 3 of the biggest religions in the world, all say that they believe in the God of Abraham, Abraham and Jacob, whatever. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whatever. The biggest major religions in the world would all say that, right? So saying that that's the God you believe in doesn't actually tell anyone what God you believe in. You realize that, right? And so that it sounds like you're embarrassed to say what God you actually believe in?
No, that'd be incorrect, because if you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, then you don't believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
I mean, now that's just a no true Scotsman fallacy, but I could tell that this is going to go fantastic. So what's some argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
So do you believe that life can come from non-life?
Life always comes from non-life.
Life always comes from non-life. Okay, so
Yeah, constantly.
like you think how do
Are there
what do you
any
mean it
atoms?
constantly comes
Are there
from
any atoms that are alive?
mm, yeah, I guess. Like my body is alive, yeah.
No,
So,
no, no. If we were just looking at any individual atom, any atom in the entire universe, or let's say that we looked at every atom in the entire universe, would we ever find one that is alive?
yeah, I'm alive.
No, no.
So,
If we looked at atoms, just atoms, if we looked at atoms, would we ever find one that is alive?
yeah, I'm made up of atoms. and
No,
my
that's not
atoms
my
are
question,
alive.
Travis.
Okay.
If you can't be, if you're this dishonest, then we're not going to be able to have a conversation. So I'm going to give you one more.
I'm not trying to be dishonest.
You are being dishonest. If we looked at every hydrogen atom in the universe, would we ever find one that's alive?
I guess not.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet, as a living thing, I have tons and tons of hydrogen atoms that make up my body. And in fact, if you removed all the hydrogen atoms from my body, I wouldn't be able to be alive anymore. So obviously, me as a living thing, I come from non-living things. I am exclusively made of non-living things. So of course life comes from non-life. And in fact, not only do you agree that all living things are made of non-living things, you also agree that the ultimate source of life is a non-living thing, because you're going to pretend that you think God is alive, but when I ask you for a definition of life that includes God and all other living things, but doesn't include any non-living things, you're never going to be able to give it. God is not alive. God doesn't fit any reasonable definition of life. And so if you think that life comes from God, then you also agree life comes from non-life. So this is a really stupid argument. You're shooting yourself in the foot with this one. So do you want to move on to something that's not so stupid, or do you want to die on this hill?
Well, you presume the thing that's being argued. You presume that God is not alive whenever I say that.
Hey, I mean, yeah, give me the definition of life then.
For humans, or
No, just in general. The definition of life that includes God, all other living things, and no non-living things. What's that definition?
It's, I mean, something that has animation to it, like, I guess, would be, I mean, why don't we just talk about human life?
No, I'm talking about life. Just life. And so you're saying anything that has animation is alive, right?
I mean, it's hard to give a definition for life that's broad enough to encompass, plants, animals,
No, it's not.
humans.
No, it's not.
All right, can you give me one?
Yeah, it's just going to be, organisms that have oh my god, I can't talk right now. Very simple biological processes. It's going to be metabolism, reproduction, response to stimulus, growth, those types of things, right? Homeostasis.
Okay.
Right? So those are the things that make things alive. God doesn't have those things. Now, so you obviously, so by that definition, because God doesn't have homeostasis, God doesn't even fit your definition you said earlier, something that has animation to it, because not only is that going to include robots, which obviously you don't think robots are alive, that's not going to include God, because God, in order to be the creator of the universe, would have to exist outside the universe. So that means God exists outside of time, which means that God can't change, which means that God can't be animated, because being animated requires changing from one state to another.
Yeah, he's
So
self-existent.
God doesn't fit either of our definitions of life. So what you need to do now is you need to either agree that life comes from non-life, or you need to give a new definition of life that, again, includes God, all living things other than God, and no non-living things.
Well, yeah, God doesn't meet the definition because he's a different type of being.
No, what's the definition of life that includes God, all other living things, and no non-living things? So you need to either give that definition or agree that God is not alive.
Well, you're trying to make me give
You need
a
to either
definition.
give that definition or agree that God is not alive. Or I guess you could run away. Those are your three options.
Okay. Well, you're trying
Those
to
are your three
fit-
options, Travis. You can either, well, I guess if you keep bitching, I'll consider that running away and I'll just drop you. So you can either run away / keep bitching. You can agree that God is not alive, or you can provide the definition of life.
Okay, so the definition of life, like you're trying to fit two different things in one definition.
I'm trying to fit one thing into the definition, and that is all things that are alive. That's the only one thing I'm trying to fit in the definition. If God is alive, he'll fit in the definition of life. If God doesn't fit in the definition of life and you need a different definition, that means God's not alive. You understand that, right? If I say that I'm a millionaire and you say, oh, well, I know that being a millionaire means that you have at least $1 million. So that's cool that you have at least $1 million. And I say, whoa, you're trying to fit two totally different things under the same definition. I'm a millionaire, but I don't have at least $1 million. Like, you see how ridiculous that sounds? Obviously, if I'm a millionaire, then I have at least $1 million, or I wouldn't qualify for the definition of being a millionaire, right? So now, in the same way, if you're saying, here's the definition of life, like let's say, for example, we agreed on the one that I gave, when God doesn't fit that, then obviously we have to say God isn't alive, or we give a different definition. If we can't give a definition of life that includes God, then obviously God isn't alive. So again, your three options, and this is on my last time I'm going to give you these options. You can either agree that God is not alive, you can give the definition of life that shows that I'm wrong, or you can keep bitching and or run away. And the last one includes me dropping
I'll just say that your definition of life is good for God. Like, he meets that definition.
Really? So God grows?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean,
okay, well, that's the definition, my guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I would drop that one then.
So obviously God doesn't fit my definition. So you shot yourself in the foot on that one. So you're back to the same three options: give a definition, agree God isn't alive, or keep this nonsense up and I just drop you if the next thing you say isn't one of those first two.
Okay, same definition, but drop the life or the growing part.
All right. So thanks for the concession, Travis. It's so fucking stupid when people say that life doesn't come from non-life stuff. So dumb. Oh, that level. I don't understand it. All right. Okay, so if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Ethan, are you at least 18?
Hey, brother, how are you?
Are you at least 18?
Yes, I am.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
I'm a Muslim, so just the Abrahamic God.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, there's a couple things. First off, God can't really come with evidence. A huge part of faith is understanding that.
Well, all I'm interested in is debates about whether there's rational justification to believe in a God. If you don't think there's rational justification to believe in a God, then we agree and there's no debate.
Well, this is something far beyond science. I mean, let's look at other things.
Did you understand what I just said, Ethan?
Yes, I did. Could you let me say one sentence, please?
No.
So I can answer your question?
No, because that wasn't a question. You did answer the question, in fact. You said yes, that you understood what I said. So here's the issue, Ethan. I need you to answer this question with just one syllable. That's all you need. Do you have evidence or an argument that provides rational justification to believe in God?
Nobody does. That's what faith is.
Okay.
But we can talk
Have a
about
good one.
subsets of.
That's all I'm interested in. It's a waste of time to come up here if you don't have that. That's why I always say that you have to be an adult, 18 plus, and that you have to have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God. Those are the requirements. If you don't have those things, if you're not an adult, and you don't have any argument or evidence, please don't request. It's a waste of your time and mine. Hi, Pig. Are you at least 18?
Yeah.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
Good. I believe in like a necessary being as a concept of God. So would you like the argument for a necessary being existing?
No. Is it, unless it fits the definition, like a substantive definition of God, is it like an immaterial mind that sustains the universe? Is it an immaterial mind?
It's going to be a necessary being that has knowledge of power, and it's also going to have the consciousness.
Okay, so answer my question.
It's a necessary being that has power.
That's not an answer to my question. Answer my question.
Yes, it is a substantive definition of God.
No, that wasn't my question.
Repeat the question.
Oh, so you just weren't listening?
No, I wasn't listening because I was speaking.
Yeah, because the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours. I'm so sorry about that. What
No,
I
the first
what I
beginning of your
asked you
sentence
is
was the middle of mine, actually.
yeah, you did it again where the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours. Are you capable
go
of having yeah, and you did it again. Are you capable of having a conversation?
Yeah.
Are you capable of waiting for someone else to finish speaking before you interrupt them?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what I'm asking you is the necessary being that you believe in an immaterial mind that is the personal ultimate foundation to reality?
Good. By foundation to reality, what do we mean?
Okay. Well, clearly you don't have the boots for this hike. Have a good one, Pig.
Wait, you're...
I don't know what to tell you. Go to debater. Yeah. So obviously I'm not going to waste my time on idiots who can't even engage with a simple, like, upfront question. Things like, what God do you believe in? Does the thing you believe in fit this, like, basic definition of a God? Like, if you can't engage at that level, like, if even that low level of a question is too complex for you, then you probably don't belong here. I'm no genius. I'm not smart. I'm nothing special. I'm an idiot, right? So I'm not saying that I have some high standard. I'm just saying that with as dumb as I am, if you can't meet up to my low standard, then I don't know what you're doing trying to have these conversations. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Jed, are you at least 18?
Yes.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
So I was actually wondering if I could just talk to you about, like, kind of what you believe in a way. I'm like atheist as well.
Okay. Well, I'm just doing debates here, Jed.
Okay, I'll leave. Sorry about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I appreciate you being honest though. And if we're like between guests and I got some time and you throw some questions in the comments, I'll try to answer them. Is there, since
thanks.
you're up here, do you have one specific question that I can answer?
Do you think that the universe, like, had a beginning, or do you think it just always existed?
I don't know. I think it's really unlikely that the universe had a beginning, but I don't have a firm position on it because I don't think that I have enough evidence to sway me one way or the other strongly.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, I think it's a live possibility that we have a B theory universe that has a first and last moment, a first and or last moment. My position is above me. God is fiction. Hi, Solomon. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
When were you born?
What year?
Yeah.
I was born in the 1980s.
Okay. At first you sounded young. Okay. I believe you now. Now you sound old. No, I'm just kidding. What God do you believe in?
I'm more of like an agnostic.
Okay. So you're just not sure whether there's a God?
Correct.
Okay. What is the, argument or evidence that keeps you thinking that there might be?
Because humans are not omnipotent, or is that the word for all knowing? We don't know everything, know.
That would be omniscient.
Omniscient. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not omniscient.
Yeah, I agree that we don't know everything. What does that have to do with whether a God exists?
Because how can you say that there is a God or there is not a God if you don't know everything? If there's still mysteries about the universe, and then you can get into, like, you were talking about atoms, so you can get into, like, electrons. Like, sometimes.
Well, hold on.
I've read.
I think that this is an issue, though. Do you know whether 1 + 1 = 3 is true?
1 + 1 = 2.
No, right. If I say 1 + 1 = 3, is that true or false?
False.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know everything, right?
Of course not.
Right. So even though you don't know everything, you are able to know some things, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I think one of the things that we can know, even though we don't know everything, is that there can't be a God.
But what's your evidence for that? Like, why would I believe that?
Sure. So there's a lot of different reasons. One of the easiest things that we could say is that we could go with like what's called the Proclus dilemma. So there are only two options for God. If we're just thinking logically, there's something called the law of non-contradiction, and then the law of excluded middle. Law of non-contradiction means that if something is true, it can't also be not true in the same way that it's true. And then the law of excluded middle means that if something isn't true, then the only other option is for it to be false. If something isn't false, the only other option is for it to be true, and that there isn't like like something is either A or it's not A. It can't be both. So what I would say is that because of that, the only options for God's relationship to his creation is either that God was always creating the universe or he was not always creating the universe. If God was always creating the universe, that means the universe always existed. So if it always existed, it didn't come into existence. Creating something is bringing it into existence. So if the universe didn't come into existence, it wasn't created. Therefore, there's no God. And then the other option was that God was not always creating, but that would require that God would have had to change from not creating to creating. If God changes, then God is in time. If God is in time, then God's inside the universe. And if God's inside the universe, then God didn't create the universe. So we started out acknowledging that there are only two possible options. Either God was always creating or he was not always creating. Either one of those options gets us to the conclusion that God couldn't have created the universe. And those are the only two things that could possibly be true. So if both possibilities lead us to the conclusion that there couldn't be a God who created the universe, then the only reasonable conclusion is that there couldn't be a God who created the universe.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I will have to read more about that.
Here, let me throw it up on the screen here. I'll throw it up on my my handy dandy little notepad, assuming that I can use my old man. Oh, that was Eunice. I love Eunice, but that's not what I was going for. Here we go. This is what we wanted. So either God was always creating or not always creating. Those are the only two options here in premise one. For the first option, if he was always creating, that means the universe always existed. If it always existed, it wasn't brought into existence. If it wasn't brought into existence, it wasn't created. So that's where we would end up there. If we say he was always creating, that means the universe wasn't actually created. If he wasn't always creating, he changes from not creating to creating. If he changes, he's in time. If he's in time, he didn't create time. If he didn't create time, he didn't create the universe. So both options, both of these two options at the beginning here lead us to the conclusion that God didn't create the universe. But if God exists, then he did create the universe. Therefore, it's not possible that God exists.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but we argue about, what is time? It's like debatable what is time. And I mean,
time is just a measurement of change, right? Or like maybe an even simpler way to put it is time is just what the clock does, right? I mean, time is simply like the progression of existence.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's good logic, but I don't think it's necessarily like, gonna convince me, but I don't know, because there's so many different theories.
Where's the problem?
Just because, I mean, so there's just so many theories about the universe. So
Nope,
there's like,
I'm asking you to actually respond to the argument that I gave.
As far as this argument, I mean, I don't necessarily know if that's correct. That your definition of time, time, like, it's just the progression of change. I don't know.
It's the progression of existence. What do you think time is?
I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, we're revolving, we're revolving around the sun. So
That has nothing to do with time.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with what time is. Time is the passage of moments from past to present to future. That's existence progressing along the temporal dimension. That's what time is. It's just a progression of existence along the fourth dimension, right? Because we have three spatial dimensions and a fourth temporal dimension. That's all time is, just things progressing along that fourth dimension. That means it's the passage of moments. It's the progression of existence. And if we're saying that passing moments or existence progressing is a feature of the universe, we have no reason to think then that it could exist outside the universe. But in order for God to have created the universe, he would have had to have had a progression of existence outside of the universe. Since we don't have a reason to think that that's possible, we don't have a reason to think that God could exist. And in fact, we have good reason to think God couldn't exist.
Okay.
So what I'm going to recommend to you, Solomon, is that that you look at some of these arguments, and you don't do the thing that you tried to do a little bit ago, where when an argument gets tough, you try to switch to a different one. Instead, find an argument that's tough for either side, either a really good argument for God or a really good argument against God. Preferably, you'll look at both. Whatever you think the most compelling argument for God is, and whatever you think the most compelling argument against God, pick one, and then spend a bunch of time just researching that one argument and the argument or the cases for and against it. So pick your favorite argument for God. Research the cases for and against that argument. Look at debates of like actual philosophers debating that argument specifically. Take notes. Figure out why do you what points do they make that you think are good? What points do you make that you think are bad? And then try to evaluate, does this argument actually demonstrate that God exists? Then move to your favorite argument or whatever you think the most compelling argument that God doesn't exist is, and do the same thing. Don't do these at the same time. After you've finished with the one for God, do it for one against God, and do the same thing. Look for actual good debates from educated, reputable people. That's what I was looking for. And then take notes. What are the points for the argument against God? What are the points against the argument against God? Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Don't allow yourself to say, well, this one's tough, I'm going to switch to a different one. Stick with it. Stick with one specific argument for God. And then when you're done with that, one specific argument against. And I promise you, you're going to learn a lot by doing that and not letting yourself jump from one argument to another as soon as one gets hard.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, and I hope that you have a good rest of your evening.
You too.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Oh, no Sean, apparently. Oh, hey. Thanks everybody for the support. That's fucking awesome. Lobes and Bradley Cooper, Rat Soup, Jelani. Oh shit, Jelani sent in a bunch of stuff. Thank you. T-Rex, Lupine, Error 404, Chat, Angry Neeson. Thank you everybody for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. It's fucking awesome. But yeah, currently don't have anybody requesting. Hoping that we can still have some good conversations here. So yeah, if you believe in a God and you're 18 plus, have some kind of argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in a God, I would love to have the conversation. Feel free to request up. Damn, thanks everybody. Oh shit. Atheist Cat, thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I know. I'm such an asshole to people who come up here and act like assholes. Damn. I should be nice to the people who are being assholes. What was I thinking? Oh, hey, Bob. Good to see you here. Yeah, so just hoping to actually have a conversation. Oh, thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate the support. But yeah, currently don't have any requests. Hoping that someone can actually provide some kind of argument or evidence. I don't think we've really gotten a whole lot this evening. Been live for coming up almost on 2 hours now. And we got basically trolls. Oh, Gene was a good conversation. That was a decent conversation. So we did have a good one. And then we got Deathless Light to tell us all that he doesn't know what an antecedent or what antecedents and consequence are. That was fun. Oh, thanks, Philo Dragon. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have a sick new microphone, so it sounds good on here, and it's going to sound even better when I get a chance to record some vocals. How does it feel to lose? I wouldn't know how it feels to lose because I never lose. Yeah, but again, nobody requesting. Yeah, I mean, I have had conversations with people over DM, but I'm going to be the same way there as I am here. If you're not able to actually engage, you're not able to actually have the conversation, then I'm just not going to talk to you. If you want to have the conversation, then you need to engage in the conversation. That's why I am impatient with people when they join, because people don't want to actually have the fucking conversation. People just want to obfuscate. They want to run away. They want to pettifog. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for them to do that. I should say it wouldn't make any sense to do that if you were good faith. Yeah, fair enough, Andre. I'm willing to change my mind too. I would be happy. The other thing is, Andre, you can come up and we can talk about whatever you think the best argument is. That's fine. We can have an honest conversation about it. It doesn't have to be a knockdown, drag out, bloody fight. The only reason that a lot of debates go that way is because that's what the people who come up here want. They turn it into that. I match people's energy. If you come up here calm, respectful, just having a conversation, I'd be happy to do the same. So if you think that God exists and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, and you're at least 18, please feel free to request and we can have a conversation. My prophecy is that, that person in the chat saying God is real is not going to request. Well, it's not a test, Andre. Like, you don't have to respond. Like, you don't have to have the best responses. We can just have the conversation. I mean, if you don't want to, don't take it like I'm trying to pressure you. I apologize. Maybe that seemed like I was trying to pressure you. I apologize. What I'm really trying to do is just say that the invite is open. If you don't want to come up here, don't come up here. I'm not trying to pressure you. I apologize if it seemed that way. That is not my goal. It's actually something that I take pretty seriously, that I don't invite people up. I don't pressure people to come up. I don't do anything like that. I simply want to talk to people who actually want to have the conversation, and I'm hoping that somebody will actually want to have the conversation. Do I need to put a syllogism up on the screen to entice people to come in? I think, if you think that God is real, come up and demonstrate it. Come up and give the evidence, give the argument. I'd be happy to discuss it. One argument that I like, and if actually really early in the live, some guy came up here and said there are no good arguments against Christianity. And I thought about giving this argument. If Christianity is true, then a triomni being exists. If a triomni being exists, then Christianity is not true. Conclusion, Christianity is not true. I mean, that's a fantastic argument, a sound argument against Christianity, because obviously it is the case that if Christianity is true, then a triomni being exists. We all know that. And of course, we can conclude that if a triomni being existed, then they certainly wouldn't set up an evil, immoral, unjust system like, Christianity, original sin and eternal punishment, those kinds of things. So obviously, if that kind of God, a triomni God, actually existed, then Christianity isn't true. So what that means is that Christianity can't be true. If you assume that Christianity is true and follow that to its logical conclusion, you come to the conclusion Christianity is not true. So Christianity implies not Christianity. God certainly is fiction. Yep. God doesn't exist in reality, but he does exist in stories. And when things exist in stories but not in reality, we call them fiction. No, American Defender. I'm not asserting that Christian God is the only God. I'm saying that's an argument against Christianity. Obviously, no gods exist. Oh, that's 100% true, Jay. That second premise is where the Christians would argue, but then you just show how it's true, right? It's easy to show that if an all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God existed, then there's no possible way that Christianity would be the true religion, right? Because if an all-good, all-powerful, all-knowing being existed, it would never create a system like original sin. It would never create a hell. There's so many things in the Christian belief system that couldn't possibly be the case if there was an all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God. You have
I'm
anything of
atheist
substance this
too.
time?
I'm atheist, but you're just a fat fucking like cuck.
Clearly an atheist. Perfect. Like, look, folks. I know I'm a fat fucking idiot, right? Like, there's no question about that. You're not telling me something new. Yeah, certainly atheists can insult me. So if you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, feel free to come up. We've got almost 130 people in here and not a single theist. Nobody with the balls to defend their position. That's sad, because I see a lot of you keyboard warriors in the chat. It's funny how real big in the chat, not so much when it actually comes to having the conversation. You have to request. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Are you at least 18?
Hello? Yeah,
Hi.
I'm at least 18.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I believe in Allah.
Cool.
The one and only God.
Yeah. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Well, I just believe that I don't believe that things just can merely exist, and that everything requires like a creator or a design. So inherently,
want to
that
say
would
that.
mean that. Why would I not want to say that?
If you said that everything requires a creator and a designer, then that means that God would require a creator and a designer.
No, that's not true. So if I
Is God something that exists?
okay, just let me know.
Is God something that exists?
Okay, you're gonna let me talk.
Does God exist?
Yes, obviously. I
Okay,
believe
so
that. You're
obviously
gonna let
God
me
is
talk.
part of everything, right?
Okay, just let me talk.
So God is part of everything, right?
You said that God would require a
You need to
creator, correct?
calm down. No,
Correct?
you need to calm down. What I said was you don't want to say what you said
Man,
because it
you
would
know you
lead to
messed
that.
up.
Yeah, so you can't even listen to
Just
what's
let me
being said to
finish.
you. Do you understand the problem that I was pointing out?
Okay, go ahead.
You said everything needs a creator and a designer. I said you don't want to have that position because that would force you to take the position that God needs a creator. I don't think that you think that God needs a
everything and
creator,
everyone
so you
but
need to
God.
change what you said.
Yeah, but God is the only creator. I thought
Yeah.
that was too clear. So.
No, it's not, because
Okay.
you're contradicting yourself now.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm trying to, what I was
So you
trying to
understand
do,
what I mean.
hold
So
on,
you understand
calm
what I
down.
mean now.
There's no reason to get all worked up. What I was trying to do is stop you from contradicting yourself, and now you're just demanding to contradict yourself. You won't let me stop you. I'm trying to help you. So you don't want to say that everything needs a creator. You need to qualify that somehow so that it doesn't lead to contradictions.
Okay. So everything but God.
Well, that's just special pleading. You need to give some criteria by which we can tell whether or not a thing must have been created.
So you said that means God would need a creator, right?
No, what I'm saying is that if you say
That's not what you
everything,
said?
I'm trying to explain it to you.
I asked you. You're not answering my questions. I asked you. You're just diverging from my questions. If you don't want to have a conversation, you can keep talking the whole time. Okay.
What's your question?
I told you. You said that would entail God needs a creator, correct?
What did I say would entail that?
That my previous statements.
Which was?
Are you even listening?
What was the statement, and what did I say it would entail?
Clearly, you just want to talk.
I do. I'm just trying to get some clarity here. Are you actually tracking the conversation?
Yes, you told me what is my proof to you, right?
No.
That there is a God.
I didn't use the word proof.
Okay, Omar, what word did you use, sir?
The best argument or evidence is what I asked for.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, I gave you it. Like,
yeah,
the phone that you're holding now in your hand, did it just show up?
What phone?
Okay, well, the phone that you're using to communicate with me now.
I'm not using a phone.
Okay, what are you using?
The computer.
Okay, the computer that you're using.
So
did it just wait?
No, we're not doing 20 questions.
Oh,
we're not doing 20
okay,
questions.
okay.
You're supposed
Answer my question. Did it just
You're
show
supposed
up?
to be getting You're
Did it
supposed to be
just
giving
show
some
up?
kind of argument or evidence, not asking me questions. So what you tried to do was say everything needs a creator.
Man, I'm
I
tired of
pointed out
arguing
why
with you.
you don't want. Hold on, just calm down. I pointed out. Oh yeah, and then you just run away. Oh boy. Good times. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please. Yeah, I booted him. No, I'll admit when I boot somebody. I'll gladly say when I boot somebody. I have no problems with that. That guy ran away. All right. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi,
Hello,
Davey.
can you hear me?
Have we spoken before?
No.
Oh.
I'm David.
Okay. How old are you?
69 years old.
Okay. And all right. What God do you believe in?
My God doesn't have a name. We just can call him the core.
Do you believe in do you believe in like an immaterial mind that like a personal ultimate foundation to reality?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't think that we have a substantive disagreement to discuss.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't we?
Because that's
No.
what I'm talking about is the personal ultimate foundation to reality. If you also don't believe in that, then all we can do is agree, yep, that thing doesn't exist, and there's no
well, why
conversation
would-
to be had.
Oh, well, I didn't think there'd be something alternative to reality. I mean, reality is reality, man.
I didn't say anything about an alternative to reality.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misunderstood you. It's hard to hear on this phone a little bit. I'm sorry. What was exactly you said?
I'm asking if you believe that there is a personal ultimate foundation to reality.
No, absolutely not, man. I mean, why would
Okay.
there be? Why would
Yeah.
there be something like that?
There wouldn't be. All right. Well, have a good
No,
one.
I'm
Like, okay, we agree. High five, I guess. Yeah, I should have taken notes on that one, Jay. My bad. So yeah, it's been a rough one tonight getting actual conversations. The core. Yeah, so if you are 18 plus and you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God, feel free to come up. Seems like we don't have anybody that thinks they can actually provide a case that God exists. And I mean, I agree with all of you that think that, right? All of you theists who don't think that you can provide a case, I agree. You can't provide a case. Yeah, God's strongest soldiers indeed. Who said logic is arbitrary? What the fuck are you talking about? When did I say logic was arbitrary? Actually, I don't even care about that. I just want to have the debate about whether or not God exists. Okay, so are you at least 18?
I am.
What God do you believe in?
I'm a Christian.
Cool. What's the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Last time we talked, you booted me because you said logic is contingent and arbitrary.
No.
And now you're saying it's not. So what's the opposite of contingent?
Necessary. But see, in order for something to be contingent or necessary, it has to exist. Right?
Okay. Do you think logic is necessary or contingent?
Neither. So what's the best argument for God?
So you think the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction are not contingent or necessary?
So do you have an argument or any evidence or what?
I know you're going to boot me because you
don't have an argument. Yeah, I will boot you if you don't have an argument.
The law of non-contradiction is
okay.
Necessary.
So last chance. I'm giving you the opportunity to not get booted. Do you have any argument or evidence?
I'm presenting a case right now.
So you don't have
the law of non-contradiction is necessary.
The law of non-contradiction is necessary. Premise 2.
Do we know
Premise
what
2?
those words mean? Do you know what those words mean?
So do you want to give the argument or not?
I assume you know what those words mean. So yeah, premise 2 would be the laws of logic are mental. They're semantic, propositional, relational. Those are aspects only.
You need to hold on. They're mental, semantic, and propositional.
They're properties of only mentality. So they're relational. Semantic.
I just need to know what the actual premise is, my guy.
I apologize. I don't have my philosophy paper in front of me. Premise 2. Let's say the laws of logic are relational and semantic. Only minds have these properties.
So it's like a third premise, only minds.
No, the second premise.
Well, no, because you're saying the laws of logic are relational and semantic, which is a proposition. That sounds like a premise. And then you say only minds have these properties. And I assume that you mean like relational and semantic properties. So that would be another premise. So only minds have relational and semantic properties. Okay.
Conclusion. Therefore, necessary logical truths are grounded in a necessary mentality.
Wow. Do you want to workshop this and come back another time, or?
You're free to disagree with any premise.
Well, the first thing that I'm going to have to do is just point out that this isn't a valid syllogism. So that's why I'm asking if you want to workshop it, because obviously a valid syllogism would never give us a reason to accept the conclusion. So, or an invalid syllogism would never give us a reason to accept the conclusion, because even if the premises were true, which obviously they're not, but even if the premises were true, it wouldn't.
So
the conclusion wouldn't follow. So what you need to do is provide.
Is not true. Which premise is not true?
It doesn't matter because the syllogism isn't valid.
Matter. Which premise is not true?
No, it only matters if the syllogism is valid.
Boot me because you can't answer the question. Which premise?
Because it's not relevant. Make the case. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Freaking premise is not true, you coward.
So you don't understand what I'm saying?
You don't know. All right. So is premise 1 true? Let's just go down it. Is non-contradiction?
So explain what's the inference rule.
Dude, this is a freaking argument. So let's just do this.
Explain the inference rule. Explain the inference rule.
Let me just look it up. I don't have my philosophy textbook in front of me.
Well, obviously
you
asked
for a syllogism. How about this is a deductive argument?
No, the inference rule, you fucking moron. What's the inference rule?
I don't know. You can tell me.
Yeah, there isn't one. This isn't a valid inference. So that's what I'm explaining to you.
Go through the premises.
No, we don't need to go through the premises. Make the case.
Locked and...
Okay, you need to calm down. I know that this is scary because you're realizing that you don't actually have an argument, but I promise, baby, we'll get through it. Okay.
Cool.
So
Cool.
what you need to
I
understand
I
is
am
that
trembling in
yeah. So what you need to understand is that
the
if the
guy that
if the argument isn't valid, then it doesn't provide any motivation to accept the conclusion. So the first thing that we need to check before we think about whether the premises are true is whether the argument itself is valid, whether the truth of the premises would necessitate the truth of the conclusion. So since this isn't a valid argument, you need to fix it. How do you want to fix it to make it valid, or are you just not capable of doing that?
So tell me specifically why the conclusion doesn't follow.
Yeah, because
If the laws I could tell you why I think it is, and you can disagree with me. Is that cool?
No, if you want to tell me
Okay.
why you think it's valid, then you would
actual
explain.
conversation. This is what you do. You don't have actual
Mhm.
conversations
Mhm.
with people. As soon as someone comes up here with an argument, you just boot them off.
Oh, I know. Yeah, definitely.
You
I
like
just
to
boot them
simp-
off.
you like
Yep.
to simp to a bunch of
100%. Yeah,
100
that's why
stupid
I've
atheists
just
is
booted
what
you
you
off,
do.
right? Because I just
Yeah,
boot everybody. It's
you
almost
did
like
boot
you
me
know
last
that
time.
the
You
argument
said
isn't valid, and
arbitrary.
you
You said
refuse to
logic.
engage with whether or not it's
You
valid because you
disagreed
know
with
that you
premise
can't do it.
one. You disagreed with
So,
premise one last time we talked. So
so
why do you
why don't
think
you
premise one
provide
is
why
wrong?
don't you provide a valid version
Why
of
do
the
you think
syllogism?
premise one is wrong?
So do you have a valid
Why do
version
you
of the
think
syllogism?
premise one is wrong? Why do you think
So
premise
no,
one is wrong?
I'm not
Why
going to
do you
engage
think
with an invalid syllogism.
you're
It's useless.
scared to disagree with premise one? Why?
I'm not scared. Obviously, I'm
Okay,
telling
cool.
you that
So
it's
do you
not
agree
worth
that
anyone's time
you're
to
do you
engage with
think
an
you're
invalid
do you think
syllogism.
you're a logical
So it's not worth anyone's time to engage with an invalid syllogism. So I'm
you
going to
think
give you
you're a
one
logical
last opportunity to provide a valid version of the syllogism. So can you provide a valid version of the syllogism?
So if logic is necessary,
Fair
and
enough. So if you can't answer a simple question, get the fuck out. Yeah, if you come up here and act like an asshole, you get treated like an asshole, and I get rid of you. What do you want? What do you expect? It's fucking stupid. Yeah, he never got to talk once. You fucking morons. All right. Hi, Jesus is King. Are you the same Jesus is King I've spoken to before? Hello. Bueller. Clearly not. So if you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, are you at least 18?
Yeah, I'm 18.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
I'm a Trinitarian, but the guy before me, that argument wasn't invalid, right?
So what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Let's just say they are the same exact argument as the guy before me. It's not invalid.
Okay, what's the inference rule?
It's an argument in informal or natural language, so it doesn't need an inference rule.
Yeah, I mean, you could take any informal argument and provide the inference rule. That would be very easy to do for any valid informal argument. So just provide the inference rule.
You seem to be very confused. If you go on SCP, if you go on SCP
provide the
and
inference. Just explain the inference.
Yeah, if you go on the SCP,
So
and
just
go
provide
under
the
informal
inference?
logic, the inference is just where it says therefore. There's no inference rules in
Okay,
informal logic.
fantastic. So since you're a fucking moron too, we can just move on. So fucking dumb. Like, obviously, like, informal arguments can also be valid and invalid. And even though an informal argument wouldn't have the validity of an informal argument wouldn't be as obvious, you would still be able to provide the inference rule. If you have a valid informal argument, you would still be able to derive the inference rule. So, don't know what to tell you. Sorry that that's too complex for you. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. See if TubTub can connect. Bueller?
Bueller?
Hello.
Okay, that was a child. Hi, Tyler. Are you at least 18?
I am, yes.
Didn't we just speak?
Yeah. I looked into so basically we were going off of the contingent argument, and I was looking at what you were explaining about if God had to create the universe, is that necessary or contingent? And I said it was contingent in the sense that he has the will to either create or not create. But you said that you basically made the modal simplicity objection, which is like God is identical to his attributes, will, power, knowledge, and actions. God is a necessary being. Whatever is identical to his necessary being is itself necessary. God's act of willing to create the universe is identical. We were going off of that. Am I ringing any bells?
Well, yeah, I remember the conversation. I think you're misrepresenting it a little bit, but I do remember the conversation.
Okay. I mean, if we could go back, I feel like I can understand it better, and I feel like there was a sort of premise that we were misunderstanding, or that we could recollect and take on what I was meaning. So, like I was saying, the contingent argument, I could try to say the best I can. Anything that exists is either necessary or contingent. Contingent thing needs an explanation.
Hold on. Everything that exists is either contingent or necessary, right?
Yep. That's premise one. Premise two would say a contingent thing is something that could have failed to exist and needs an explanation for why it exists.
Well, we already know what contingent things are, so you're just going to say contingent things. For every contingent thing, there is a sufficient explanation for why it exists, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, third premise.
The universe is contingent.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the universe needs a sufficient explanation for why it exists.
There is a sufficient explanation for why the universe exists, okay?
The ultimate explanation for the universe must be something necessary.
Hold on one second. Ultimate explanation for the universe's existence must be necessary.
This necessary explanation.
Oh, wait, that was it? Just necessary?
Something necessary, yes.
Okay, well, this isn't going to get us to a god. Is that like a third conclusion or something?
Yeah, no, it's not my I'm still going. Like I'm not at my conclusion yet.
No, I know, but okay, whatever. So fifth premise.
This necessary explanation must exist by its own nature and cannot depend on anything else outside itself.
Okay, this necessary explanation must be ontologically independent.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the best explanation of a necessary foundation of all contingent reality.
Hold on, is this like a sixth premise or is this a conclusion?
This is a sixth premise.
Okay, so the best explanation of what?
Of a necessary foundation of all contingent reality is
all
God.
Contingent reality. Okay.
Therefore, God exists as the necessary explanation for the contingent universe.
Can I ask where you got this from?
I made it myself. Okay. I mean, of course, I used the argument of what the the contingent argument says, but I feel like it's it fits.
Yeah, this is.
What is there that you don't agree with?
Well, it feels like this is from AI, because it's pretty confused. So I'll just go ahead and throw this up here. Here we go. Everything that exists is either contingent or necessary. I mean, I guess that feels like bloat. I don't know why we would need that. For every contingent thing, there's a sufficient explanation for why it exists. That's just the hard PSR. And I mean, if you've never looked into it, the hard PSR is very contentious. Like, this isn't just like some like thing that like everybody accepts. This is a thing that people who accept it think everybody accepts or should accept, but this is actually a contentious thing. So you're going to have a really rough time demonstrating premise 2. I don't know why I would accept that. It seems like the best case you could possibly make for it would be inductive, and I don't think any inductive case gives us enough confidence to hold to that strong of a conclusion, right? Like, we could say that, like, you know, based on inductive inference, it is likely that every contingent thing has an explanation, but even that is not really supported by the evidence. So I think that you're really going to struggle to show number 2. I think that you're really going to struggle to show number 3. And I think that if we talk about number 3, because I'm pretty sure that's what we talked about last time, that's where we're going to get into all the problems. Because as soon as you say that the universe is contingent and that God is the creator, you then have to say, okay, since premise 2 tells us, if we grant premise 2, then we would say that, you know, there is something that is a sufficient explanation for why the universe exists. And so that thing, if it's necessary, then the universe is necessary. If that thing is contingent, then it can't be God. And so then every step that you go, that's going to be the case.
Oh,
So remember how
I'm
we talked
sorry.
about proximate causes?
I'm sorry. Hold on. See, so that actually you missed one of my premises. Sorry. So one of my premises says the explanation for the universe cannot be another merely contingent thing, because that would only push the explanation back further.
Right, but that's my point. No, that's my point though, Tyler. Is that if the sufficient explanation for the universe is necessary, then the universe must also be necessary. Right? Let's imagine a situation where we have a cause, we'll call it C, and let's say that cause is sufficient to instantiate an effect that we'll call E. Okay? Okay, so I'm just going to put this out as a so we'll give first a definitional premise here. Cause C is a cause that is sufficient to instantiate effect E. And so then we would know that if cause C exists in a possible world, then E exists in that possible world, right?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And so then if we stipulate that C exists in all possible worlds, the only reasonable conclusion we could draw is that E also exists in all possible worlds. So what that means is that any time a cause that is sufficient for an effect to be instantiated exists in a possible world, the effect exists in that possible world. You're saying that whatever thing, you know, so let's say that we added this like, that was the premise that you said that I missed. It's just premise 4. The ultimate explanation for the universe's existence must be necessary. The problem with this, well, I mean, I guess you could say that like the ultimate, but if we said whatever the sufficient thing is, that sufficient explanation for the universe, if we say that thing is necessary, that means that sufficient cause exists in all possible worlds, which means the universe exists in all possible worlds, which means that the universe is necessary, right? So let me lay this out here.
I would disagree with that, because it's the fact is that the necessary thing has the will to.
If the sufficient cause for the universe's existence exists in a possible world, then the universe exists in that possible world. Does that make sense?
In a possible world, then okay.
Okay. And then we'll say, what that means is that from this, we would get that if the sufficient cause for the universe, what's happening? Okay, the universe's existence exists in all possible worlds, then the universe exists in all possible worlds. And then definitionally, if the universe exists in all possible worlds, then the universe is necessary. Or what? How about we put it this way? We'll just definitionally, if a thing exists in all possible worlds, then it is necessary. And then we'll say the sufficient cause for the universe. Actually, why don't we just import what I think you're trying to say here, and then you can, you know, fight me if I'm misrepresenting you. Like physically in an Arby's parking lot. No. Sufficient cause for the universe's existence must be necessary, and so then the conclusion, the universe's existence must be necessary. So because what you were trying to say before is that, like, if the proximate cause of the universe is contingent, then that's not the ultimate explanation. And it has to be some necessary thing, because otherwise you don't have an ultimate explanation. So that's suggesting that the proximate cause of the universe, which the sufficient cause, same thing. The sufficient cause for the universe's existence must be necessary seems to be what you were saying in your argument. But I think that if we just import that into this argument here, where we're talking about how when a sufficient cause exists, then the effect that it's sufficient for must also exist. We know then that if the sufficient cause exists in all possible worlds, meaning it's necessary, then the effect also is necessary. You're saying that the cause for the universe exists in all possible worlds, therefore the universe exists in all possible worlds, which means the universe is necessary. So you're just going to get this modal collapse no matter how you do this.
I wouldn't say necessarily, because the key distinction is that God exists necessarily and the universe exists contingently.
Yeah, the problem is you can't explain how that's possible.
What do you mean? How is that? What do you mean I can't explain how that's not possible?
No, you can't explain how that is possible. You can't explain how it's possible for a necessary cause to ground a contingent effect. How is that possible?
Yes, that is possible because it's like so you're basically saying that. So I'm saying God is necessary in his essence. God's will, power, and knowledge are identical to his essence because God is simple, but the effect of God's will is not identical to God's essence.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with my argument, Tyler. This is the same confusion that you had yesterday. This is the same problem.
So you think it's impossible for a necessary being to will a contingent existence?
It's impossible for a simple necessary being to will a contingent to will anything contingent, or to cause anything that's contingent.
And how do you argue? How do you justify that?
I did that down here.
But we have to understand though that we can say his essence is identical, but not his relation to his creation.
We're not talking about his relation to his creation. We're just talking about whatever thing is the sufficient cause of the universe. If that is God's will, then if God is simple, then God's will is identical to God. If God is necessary, then God's will is also necessary, through the transitive property of identity. So if God's will is necessary and it's sufficient to cause the universe, then that means that the universe is also necessary.
His will is necessary, but his will to act upon something can have an effect. It's an effect. I feel like you're misunderstanding.
No, I'm not misunderstanding. You're refusing to see the problem with your view. And to be honest with you, it is getting quite frustrating. Because you just keep going, like this is what happened when we spoke yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It just went in circles. And it sounds like you just want to go in circles again. And I'm not really interested in going in circles. So what you would need to do is stop talking about this, like trying to draw some weird fine line distinction between like God and his will to act and his choice to will to act on his will to choice to act to whatever. Like all these distinctions are irrelevant. If God makes a choice or takes an action, because you're saying he's simple, then he's identical to that choice and or action. If God is not. Yes, that's what simplicity means, my dude. If you don't understand
what simplicity means.
Where are you getting your definition of divine simplicity?
Divine simplicity is of where
are you getting your definition of divine simplicity? Where are you getting your definition of divine simplicity?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay, well then we can't have a conversation because you can't be honest. Because I know that it's ChatGPT and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and it's getting really annoying.
Here, I'll find it. Goodness.
Yeah, so you didn't want to tell me because you don't have a source. You're just making it up.
I don't have it on me right now.
Oh, my dude. Yeah, if E is a sufficient explanation for P and necessarily E, and E implies P, then necessarily P.
You're getting confused with this. He's identical to his essence.
Yeah.
His essence. So whatever he wills so his will and everything that he is identical towards, his power of knowledge and will, is identical to his essence because God is simple. But the problem is, though, whatever an effect of his essence is not identical to it.
I didn't say that the effect is identical. Like, this is, again, you just not understanding my critique.
No, you're not. I don't think you understand what you're trying to say. You're literally saying if God wills, whatever he does, that contingent thing all of a sudden becomes necessary.
Nope.
It's not true.
I didn't say anything like a contingent thing becomes necessary.
That's what you're saying.
No, I haven't said that at all. If you think that that's what I'm saying, then that just tells me that you haven't tracked anything I've been saying, which is sad.
So you're basically saying a necessary being that wills his creation into existence would mean that thing would have to be necessary.
If the creator is simple, yes.
See, I think the creator can be simple and still create a contingent.
Yeah, that's what you've been trying to explain yesterday and today. I don't know how long we've spoken now. It's been over 15 minutes tonight. And what did we talk last
Because
night?
I'm trying to separate the relation.
We talked for like over half an hour last night. So we're coming up on almost an hour now. And you still haven't even given a single attempt to show how a necessary cause can produce a necessary sufficient cause. Oh, he just ran away. Well, I promise I didn't drop him. He just ran away. Or he had some phone issue or something, because I did not drop Tyler. Contingency round 2 went worse than the first time. Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that I dropped him. Why would I drop him? I was trying to have the conversation. I'll wait a second in case Tyler comes back. But yeah, I mean, that whole argument is simply that the claim that a necessary cause, a necessary sufficient cause, can ground or can produce a contingent effect. That's simply not possible, right? So if we say, yeah, if a cause, a specific cause, is necessary and sufficient to instantiate an effect, then that effect is necessary. Yeah, exactly, Stephen. Yeah. A sufficient explanation fully explains the explanandum. Yeah. It's pretty simple. Well, it doesn't seem like Tyler's coming back. That's unfortunate. I love how it's always me misunderstanding the argument. Good times, good times. All right, well, we are post 10 p.m. Central, and that is my quitting time. So, I clocked in at the Atheist Factory today. Did my my part for the atheist agenda, for the gay agenda. Speaking of which, happy Pride, everybody. I don't talk about Pride a lot because I don't really feel like it's my place as a masculine presenting straight white cis man. But obviously I support Pride. I support all LGBTQ plus people. Well, I can't say all, some of them are assholes, but I definitely support equality and equity. Yeah, Happy Pride, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you, everybody, for the support tonight. Oh, shit. Hercules, I can't, and 3 Pips. Thank you so much. Grandpa Books, sending support. Atheist Cat, Bob. Just thank you, everybody, so much. Rat Soup, Jelani, T-Rex or something, Lobes. Sincerely, I appreciate it, everybody. Lupine, Chet, Angry Neeson. Yeah, I really do appreciate everybody for all your support. Obelisk. I'm trying not to be that guy. But yeah, thank you, everybody, for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. And I hope that you all have a good one. As I try to say at the end of my lives all the time, remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't know how many opportunities you have left to let your family and friends know how much they mean to you. So make sure that you take all the opportunities that you have.